Dove TV, tell a friend or family member. If they can't receive a signal, the Dove streams worldwide on Roku and Apple TV, plus online at theDove.us. Help encourage someone who needs hope. Spread the word about the Dove TV. Go behind closed doors to witness biblical counseling with real people. Transformed, Monday and Thursday on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Well, good morning to you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Here it is, a Tuesday. Wow, already heading down the week, and icy out there this morning.
It is, and foggy on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's foggy, icy, you know, that patchy, freezing fog that the weather guy talks about? We got it.
Okay, well, there it is. Be careful. It is slippery out there.
Yeah.
Allow a little extra commute. Those of you who think you can drive fast in it, we'll see you at ER.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's really bad. So be careful out there. Good morning. I am Jerry Bilden's helpmate, and I'm here to make him look good, feel good, sound good, and to improve his reputation.
You picked the short straw.
It is a full-time job and pays very little. Anyway.
And Pam said, amen, brother.
Amen, brother. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. A lot in the news. Wow. Today, we'll be maybe slipping to it here in a little bit. Begins the confirmation hearings of President-elect Trump's team, and the first one up is Pete Hegseth. And one of the most important ones.
Yeah.
Apparently, he has been going through practice runs. Probably some D's will lean towards him.
Okay.
But there are some radical D's who want to tear him apart. And so here we go. This is the nasty stuff of what happens on Capitol Hill. And we'll cut away to that once it starts here in a little while. So, in the meantime, clear, cold, icy weather. We'll talk about that, except for Southern California. A real big problem has returned.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that. Anything special?
Yes, it is National Shop for Travel Day. As the holiday season fades, you might start thinking about your next vacation opportunity. I got to tell you, Perry, around here, you got to start thinking about that the year before. Because once that calendar goes up for the year, it's amazing. All of a sudden, all this time is blocked out. There's vacations being, marked.
Oh, the campsites.
Oh, and not only campsites, but our calendar.
Oh.
And that's interesting, too, though, because I have a Facebook friend who, on the morning that the campsites open up, state campsites especially, for bookings, she got up at like 4 a.m. or something like that, and by 5 o'clock she was complaining she couldn't get any reservations because they were already booked up. But anyway.
Wow.
Plan your next vacation today.
If you want to run out and buy an RV.
Oh, boy. That opens up a whole can of worms. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, until slide-outs don't slide and until pipes freeze. Anyway, It is National Ratification Day. It commemorates the ratification of the Treaty of Paris on January 14th, 1784 at the Maryland State House in Annapolis, Maryland by the Confederation Congress, and that officially ended the American Revolution.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there you go. Wow. And it is National Dress Up Your Pet Day. What do you want to dress your pet? There's a couple Doberman pinchers dressed as skiers.
Really? They look like bank robbers.
Can you imagine putting goggles on two Dobies?
No.
Yeah, but that's how sweet they were. Those are really nice dogs. Anyway, so whatever your whim is, good luck on it. And it's also a National Hot Pastrami Sandwich Day. Now we're getting into something we can sink our teeth into. Looking forward to a delicatessen meat. Pastrami is usually made from beef. Others make their pastrami sandwich with pork, mutton, or turkey. Before refrigeration, butchers originally created pastrami as a way to preserve meat. To make pastrami, they placed the raw meat in brine, then they partially dried it and seasoned it with various herbs and spices to be smoked and steamed. And a wave of Romanian Jewish immigration introduced pastrami. And they early in the English reference used the spelling as pastrama before being modified to pastrami spelling. But a New York kosher butcher, Sussman Volk, earns credit for producing the first pastrami sandwich in 1887. And if you're going to be famous for something, why not the pastrami sandwich?
Well, look, this is really great.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You got to have it with. Now you can have sauerkraut on it,
Right,
Or
and
you can have coleslaw on it.
Traditionally, it's between 2 slices of rye bread.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you should have the
Yeah.
dark rye. Have the cheese on it.
You can even put coleslaw on it.
I like the coleslaw. Some
Yeah.
people like the what's the other one?
The Reuben?
Well, yeah.
Oh, you're thinking of coleslaw. Not coleslaw. It's sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut.
Yeah, eventually it clicks in,
No. So anyway, it would have to be the double, or it had to be the dark rye with cheese, with the coleslaw, and then a big cup of the au jus to dip it in.
Oh yeah.
And then horseradish.
Oh yeah.
You got to have the horseradish on top of that.
Okay. That's all we got.
Wow.
Enjoy your pastrami sandwich.
That would ring your bell. That's hot.
Yes, clears
All
your
right.
sinuses.
All right. Good morning to you. Well, his sinus is always clean when he's doing the weather here.
Dry conditions continue with mostly clear skies and chilly, foggy mornings. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, patchy fog, then mostly sunny in mid-40s. For Vancouver, Portland, and Wilsonville, patchy frost and fog in McMinnville, then mostly sunny in mid-40s. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with patchy frost and fog, then clearing to mostly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low 40s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a calm wind. Mostly sunny skies today across central Oregon with daytime highs near 50 in Prineville, 49 in Bend, and near 45 in Sun River with a light south wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny with a high near 40. Along the Oregon coast, patchy frost and fog in Coos Bay, then sunny and near 55. Sunny skies for Port Orford with a high near 57. Brookings near 53, and Crescent City with a high near 58. In southern Oregon, patchy freezing fog, then mostly sunny with highs near 43 in Grants Pass, 42 in Medford, and near 47 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with a high in the low 40s. Into Northern California, sunny with a high in the low 40s in Wairika, sunny and low to mid 60s for Redding and Chico. In Sacramento, areas of frost before 9 a.m., then sunny with a high near 58. Sunny skies today across the Bay Area with daytime high temperatures in the low 60s for Santa Rosa, Napa, and San Francisco with a light west wind. And today in San Jose, sunny with a high near 64 and lows in the upper 30s. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Okay, there you go. Picture of Mount Ashland this morning. Lights are on. It's been groomed. It's nice. And it won't be open today or tomorrow. Just kind of let it regain a little bit. But the temperatures are going to hold things in place until the next wave of, hopefully, weather in about a week or so.
Yeah. Well, I made an official visit yesterday just to check the conditions for us. And especially the status
Was this
of...
on your clock last night? Did you actually put this down as
No,
work?
my clock checked in on Sunday so I could do that
I know you
yesterday.
did, yeah.
But, it's weird. It's not about, well, it's only about getting the job done. But I will say this, the status of the new groomers on there is unbelievable. The snow was so good. And nobody was up there. So, and we did check out the new Lithia lift. And that is a wonderful thing. So,
And you went up the aerial?
I went up aerial all the way past the broken tower.
Did you put a Dove sticker on it?
Yesterday was National Sticker Day. You're right. I needed to bring one. I didn't.
Right
all
on
right.
the side of the tower there.
All right. Well, do you ever feel like you're up against the enemy?
Oh, just put both feet on the floor.
Oh, my goodness. That's right. What day is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just another day. Well, Dr. Anthony George wants you to know that God is more powerful than the enemy. No matter what, God will win.
We must never fall prey to this idea that we are victims of the devil. If you are a Christian, you are no victim of the devil. The God who saved you, who has placed his name upon your spiritual forehead and calls you his own, he is more powerful than the enemy who harasses you from every direction. You are never a victim of the devil. So don't ever think that. God is superior to the devil, and so much so he can even use what Satan does in our lives to bring about God's purpose in our lives. You remember Joseph in the book of Genesis when his brothers recognized who he was, and he knew who they were and what they'd done. They were afraid he was going to wipe them all out now that he's over Egypt. And he said, never fear. I've grown in my faith. I've realized what you intended for evil, God has used for good. And that is the principle when it comes to the devil as well. Whatever Satan is allowed to do to us in our lives, God is so awesome. He can take what the devil does and use it for good. And you may be sitting here watching me today and you've been living for the devil. And you've given the devil way too much freedom in your life. And you just feel like you are irredeemable because you would say, I've let the devil win over and over again. I'm telling you, what the devil has done in your life and what you've even chosen to let him do in your life is no match for the power of God to turn your life around and bring good out of everything the devil's been allowed to do. God is greater than the devil.
Amen.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Let that be an encouragement for you today. Okay, God is greater than the devil. And think about this. Are you asking God to do something that you should be doing?
Oh, that's a big question.
You're asking God to do something that you don't want to do.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever gotten the answer to that prayer?
Oh.
Most of the time you don't get an answer to that.
You know, I think sometimes people don't even pray that prayer.
Well, no, you say, God, do this.
Do this, right? Yeah, but
no, you do that.
Yeah, right. Do you ever self-reflect on that? It's like, wait a minute, am I shifting this to...
Yeah, so you're asking God to do things that you should be doing because you don't want to do them.
Oh, gosh.
A little thought-provoking thing this morning.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's take a look at some of the top stories. And, of course, California in so many ways now is in the news, not only because of the fires and the weather, but yesterday it was uncovered that Governor Newsom met with the legislature in special sessions to shift $50 million to fight President Trump's deportation.
Really?
You got half your state. I say half your state. You got a big portion of your state on fire down there.
Right.
You've already moved $100 million away from the fire department or the fire district.
Right.
And now you're going to move another $50 million away so you can fight the president's deportation.
Wow.
We're in the shadow of it's possible. Now, $25 million of this is supposed to go through the California Department of Justice and $25 million to defend immigrants against deportation. It was said yesterday, and I can't verify this, that one of the arsons they found was an illegal.
I did see that, yeah.
And so here you go. And so this money is going to, instead of fighting fires and saving lives, that shows you the political landscape in California and what the left is doing. It just continues to destroy their credibility. The other part is that the Los Angeles wildfires will take a turn for the worse today. Over the next 12 to 30 hours, they're expecting 60 to 70 mile an hour Santa Ana winds. Now, the picture you see there is the DC-10 that's actually been here in Medford. It's the one that has come here. There's two of these now flying around. They were fighting the fire yesterday from the air, the best that they could. And so now the problem you have with these winds, not only are they, really terrific winds, but they create what you call wind shears. And sometimes you just can't put a plane at a low elevation with a wind shear. It could take it right into the mountain.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on down there. So the next 12 to 30 hours, they're expecting all of these conditions to worsen. In other words, dry, low humidity, and gusty winds. And then Thursday and Friday comes around, and the winds literally shift and go the other direction. They're calling for an offshore flow, which will bring cooler moisture air back into to the area, but no rain. So that's what's happening down there. All right, the next story is Greenland. Apparently, this could happen.
That's what I hear.
They have actually introduced some legislation leading a bill to authorize President Trump to enter into negotiations with Denmark over the purchase of Greenland, a territory located in North America. But it's it has long cultural and geopolitical ties to Europe, but it is militarily strategic for the United States. Who has the check to write this?
Yeah.
Does this become a territory or a state?
Yeah.
Does it become like Guam, a territory, or does it become a state? Which means we'd have to put military bases up there and stuff like that.
So who has to look at the offer on this? Who decides on something like this?
Well, apparently they passed the legislation.
Okay.
If I understand the process, the legislation will create a bill here in the next week or so that opens the door gives the president authority to move ahead with this deal. Okay. The president and everybody has to come into why is this important? Why is this strategic? Well, there's a lot of minerals up there. Apparently, it has a lot of potential for energy. And it's militarily strategic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Denmark said it isn't for sale, but you wave a big check in front of Denmark, and all of a sudden it's for sale.
That was the thing that I was really wondering. Who in Denmark can make that decision?
Well, I guess their parliament or whatever they have. Over there. So, but the problem is that Denmark can't afford to defend it and can't afford to run it.
Is this for Trump? Is this just another real estate deal?
Well, it's what we would call in real estate lot line adjustment. So I don't know if you make this part of Maine.
Yeah.
I mean, do you do a lot line adjustment
and
and Maine is now the biggest state in the union? Wow. I don't know. I don't know if it's a territory, it's a state, what happens.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the green light is now flashing and blinking for the president-elect to move seriously forward on this. So this has real potential.
I think we've all scratched our heads as we've been watching this thing develop. We thought, is this a joke? Is this something real? And it appears day by day to be becoming more and more real.
I saw a poll yesterday, polls being what they are, they can be phony. 63% of Americans like all three deals.
And 63,
they like Canada, Panama, and Greenland.
And the others are just melting down over this. If you watch social media, I'm telling you, it's like, it's meltdown.
I think what he gets out of Canada is just a mutual agreement. Let's work together because we're more powerful together.
Yeah.
I think he gets something out of Panama, and it looks like he could. Drive a flag down in, put an American flag down in Greenland.
Oh, man.
Where was all this stuff 3 months ago?
I mean, nowhere. Completely off the radar.
A couple of other quick headlines. I'll just let you know that, again, Pete Hegseth will be going for his confirmation in about the next hour or so. When that happens, he'll be the first of the president-elect's cabinet to go through the confirmation hearings. Apparently, he's prepared and ready to go. We have a really big problem with Christopher Wray yesterday. There was a story that broke. He's head of the FBI, and it didn't make big news. And I'm scratching my head and going, what? But he admitted, his report admits that China has the capability of interrupting our power grid and water grid.
Yeah, and why is this not making major headlines?
Like the biggest story out there,
Right.
You know. And so he's admitting that he hasn't done his job as he goes out the back door. So the other thing, Christopher Smith, the Smith, the special prosecutor, Jack Smith.
Oh, yeah.
He released his special, well, he didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it DOJ dropped that bomb?
DOJ at midnight last night. Released the Jack Smith special report on the Trump investigation as it relates to on January 6th. And so this morning I was watching Jonathan Hurley's response to it, and he made an interesting thing. He says, this is more about a defense case than it is a prosecution case because it talks more about himself being pure in his motive than it is about the facts of the prosecution.
Interesting, yes.
So it kind of falls, I kind of would imagine the left press is running wild with this today. But that's kind of what's happening. So some of the other headlines out there this morning. All right, we'll take a quick break. And, oh, man.
Yep, I'm tracking with you.
Hot pastrami.
Yep.
Get ready for fun at Rogue Ski Shop Think Snow Sale. Boulder Gear clothing now 20% off. Goggles, adults starting at $29, kids starting at $26. All Scott gloves 20% off. If you ski or ride, it's time to slide into Rogue Ski Shop Medford.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Lizer with Lizer Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Hey, COVID has been so crazy contagious, and you know those friends who help me get up in the morning and sometimes go to bed at night? Well, all of them were dropping like flies. Everybody was sick. It so happened that I had recently memorized Psalm 16, and man, that really kept me from getting anxious. I kept repeating that first verse. Preserve me, O God, for in you I take refuge. And then down a ways, I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I will not be shaken. And you know what? Although people to help me were few and far between, I was not shaken. God was my refuge. He preserved me in that he kept me from being anxious. So my point, don't be just a hearer or a memorizer or a repeater of God's word. Come on, put some faith into it and actually believe it. And then you'll never be shaken.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Hey, welcome back. All right, water being what it is and how precious it is, especially what's happened in California and all the stories. You know what's so interesting about California?
What?
I know this sounds political, and I don't really mean it to be.
All right.
But why hasn't Governor Newsom gone before the press with a full-blown press conference with all of his leaders behind him, like we would see in a tragedy of other sorts, where the chief of police comes out and he has all these other people around him, like we saw in New Orleans? The governor's running from everybody.
Right, except the president. You know what? He's distracted. He's picking a fight and putting away millions of dollars to protect the illegal aliens.
This is really, I think the more he fights President Trump, the worse it gets for a Democrat.
I think so, yeah.
But in the meantime, water is precious, and here they're coming out of one of their wettest years, and they didn't capture any of it, which is now in itself a whole big issue.
Yeah.
But in Oregon, they discovered something. Researchers find a vast water supply beneath the Central Oregon Cascades.
Really?
The previously unmapped aquifer is estimated to be more than 3 times the size of Lake Mead.
Wow.
Okay. Evidence of water beneath the Cascades in Central Oregon has long been clear, as clear as the McKenzie River, beautiful, which starts in a spring-fed lake in the mountains and then ends up as drinking water for thousands down in the Willamette Valley. Well, as they start snooping around up there, researchers say that they set out to gain a little bit better understanding of the volcanic transition zone, where 2 parts of the Cascade Range come together near the Santiam Pass. What they found was an enormous aquifer beneath the Central Oregon Cascades containing more than 80 cubic kilometers of water.
Wow.
A volume 3 times the size of the capacity of Lake Mead in Nevada.
Wow.
And you know what's interesting? This is what they call a continental-sized lake stored in the rocks at the top of the mountains.
Oh, really? Wow.
Now, what do we do with this?
Yeah. Wow.
And is it self-perpetuating? Is it just there? It's pure, so it has to be coming and going somehow.
Okay. Yeah. Is it coming? Is some of this like seeping from snow melt? Is this?
See, I think, but I don't know. But they found the lake.
Wow.
Within the mountain, at the top of the mountain.
Okay.
This is really fascinating.
It is.
So we'll see where this goes, but you can imagine all of the geologists and the scientists, they're up there now full-fledged trying to figure out what does this mean and what will it mean to us.
Yeah.
And where does the water come from? Where does the water go? It's kind of like the mystery of our big lake up here.
Oh, Crater?
Crater Lake.
Yeah.
You know, the water comes, we know they boils up from underneath, okay? Hot springs underneath, it feeds it at a water table, but then it spills out, and that's called the Rogue River.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see where this goes.
How about that?
All right, in the meantime, let's take a look at the satellite image, and yeah, we're being bypassed.
Yeah, there's a big arc of moisture, obviously a big front out there, but it is arcing up over the top of us, giving us clear skies and low 50s today, mid 50s tomorrow and Thursday, and nothing but sunshine, a little bit of cloud activity on Friday, but then again into next week. I don't see any rain coming our way in the foreseeable future. How about that?
And if you look way down to the bottom of that picture, you'll see a little system.
Yes,
that will be the change for Southern California by Thursday.
Okay.
That is offshore coming towards that, and it'll push the winds the other way, but it'll have cooler and moisture in it, but no systems within it. So,
well, it's interesting. You know, you mentioned the governor of California. Why isn't he out there with his officials back there and getting behind this? Well, he has been in the news, and actor, producer, race car driver, and conservative activist Antonio Sabato Jr. joined Newsmax's Newsline and responded to this clip of Gavin Newsom.
Reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California, that mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate.
Yeah, well, he should be behind bars for what he did to San Francisco and now to the rest of the state of California. It's horrible. It's horrible what's going on to the Californians. You know, I went to school in Palisades, Palisades High, one of the schools that I went to, and I love that neighborhood, Palisades and Los Angeles and Malibu, and such a beautiful city, beautiful state that these people, these liberals in the political world, they're
we're looking at it. It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone, and they're doing it on purpose, it seems. You know, before you would think, well, they're not just, you know, they're not good at their job. They don't know what they're doing. But now they know what they're doing. This is happening to California. In the last 12 months, California had the last, 3 fires that were horrible, one worse than the other. You know, I have family that lives there. I'm trying to get them all out, because this is horrible. You cannot keep paying these taxes, keep paying for everything else that you had to pay to live in California. And this is what you get? No water to save your house. You know, my family lost, I lost everything to a fire in Italy, everything. We lost our home, so we know what's going on here. This is horrible. This is the worst thing that could ever happen to the state of California. And these people are sitting there going, well, I'm going to investigate. I'm going to do this. You're the governor of California. You're supposed to stand up and protect the American people and do it at all times, 24/7.
Well, I think this is reaching a boiling point. People, his response is crazy.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that you didn't know that reservoir was empty?
Yeah,
and you're
right,
governor?
right. Yeah.
I mean, you know, this is ineptness at a level that we never thought we'd ever see before. The only thing I can say is that it will. Newsom's done. His political future is over.
Yeah, I think
Harris's future, she's not going to come back and be governor of this. People aren't going to tolerate this.
Right.
And Bass will probably be out of a job in the next couple of months. She'll have to walk out the back door. This is so poorly. There's a part of that story that really kind of puts my brain on tilt.
What?
Am I hearing him say that this is deliberate?
Well, he said it almost seems to be.
Okay, so what is the motive?
I don't know. I don't think he stepped across that line.
I've heard this about 6 times yesterday in newscasts. Somehow this is, quote, being allowed, as if there is an intentional move to wipe these people out of the state and get rid of them.
I don't know. It's weird too. But what you see happening as well is because we've seen some pretty rich enclaves get burned, and in those entertainment people who are traditionally liberal, and a lot of them are speaking out against this California administration.
Well, there you go. If it takes this to wake the liberals up, so be it. But it's a sad and a horrible price to pay. But something's really, really wrong with this governor. Mm-hmm. He is only blaming and passing the buck. He's not even leading in the middle of a disaster.
Yeah.
He's just giving excuses. I'm going to put an investigation on it. Really?
Yeah. And then
that's your answer to this?
And then in the middle of it, you have time to plan how you're going to fight the president on illegal immigrants in your state? Seriously? And you're going to put away millions of dollars to do this in the middle of this disaster?
Of the $27 million that Mayor Bass took away from the fire department, 14 went to libraries.
Oh, wow.
The rest went to the homeless. Okay? Where did the $100 million go that he took away from the state fire department? Where did that go, or whatever? How that money trickles down? So something's really wrong here, and if it takes this to wake people up, okay. But what a horrible price to pay, and I don't know. I just think he's been exposed for being the phony that he is.
Yeah.
And remember, he's Nancy Pelosi's nephew.
That's right. Yeah, I did.
So maybe the nut doesn't fall far from the tree.
Could be.
I'm thinking pastrami.
Me too.
And and the au jus that you dip it in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Check it out.
Said in 3 days you would rise. You did. You're alive.
Worried that inflation might burst your retirement bubble? I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Helping you navigate the stormy seas of retirement, Lighthouse stands tall as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Are you looking for more in this world? Then we are looking for you. We are the Peace Corps, with volunteers in more than 60 countries, living together, working together, transforming lives together. Join us.
Okay, welcome back. Well, one of the headlines this morning is Pete Hegseth. He has now been nominated to become the next Secretary of Defense, and he is the first to go through the vetting process. And apparently there's opening comments happening in the Senate floor right now. Let's see if we can squeeze in and listen a little bit to this.
Of the dais there, it seems that only a week or two ago I was sitting in that very chair being recognized by the chairman of the committee, the distinguished senator from Michigan. So time flies. Now, let me say this. We had a very appropriate expression of approval by the members of the members of the audience as our nominee and his family walked in. The distinguished ranking member and I sincerely hope that that is the last signal of approval or disapproval in today's hearing. people of the public are here. They're welcome to observe today's hearing.
So what's happening? They're going to go through opening speeches for an hour before they get down to the nitty-gritty of this. But he's before the Armed Services Committee there in the Senate, which is the confirmation hearing, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Most people think he's going to get in. There'll be some nasty moments here from the left.
I would think. Yeah.
But he's going to get in. By the way, there were 100 Navy SEALs on Capitol Hill yesterday, marching in and out of the Senate buildings, carrying his flag, so to speak.
I like it,
Yeah. All right, good morning to you. 5:30. Let's check in with CBN Newswatch. Apparently, there is a hostage deal on the table. Let's see what's going on with that this morning.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Let's begin this Tuesday in the Middle East, where Hamas has reportedly accepted a draft agreement for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the release of dozens of hostages. That is according to the Associated Press. The details are reportedly being finalized. Both the outgoing Biden administration and President-elect Donald Trump's team are pushing hard for a deal, but many in Israel are deeply concerned about the reports on the possible agreement.
The hostage ceasefire deal is still up in the air, but the U.S. is talking optimistically.
The parties are right on the cusp of being able to close this deal. Whether or not we go from where we are now to actually closing it, the hours and days ahead will tell. But I believe it is there for the taking, and we're going to do everything we can to push it to get it across the line.
There's been a handshake, and they're getting it finished, and maybe by the end of the week. But it has to take place.
Media reports say 33 hostages would be released at the start of the deal, but Israel is not sure how many of those would be alive. The release of more hostages would be negotiated in later stages. Israel appears ready to sign the deal, but whether Hamas will is unknown.
We see some progress in the negotiations. Israel wants a hostage deal. Israel is working with our American friends in order to achieve a hostage deal, and soon we will know whether the other side wants the same thing.
Palestinian people deserve peace, the right to determine their own futures. Israel deserves peace and real security, and the hostages and their families deserve to be reunited. And so we're working urgently to close this deal.
This progress comes after what the Times of Israel reported as a tense meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and President-elect Trump's top Mideast envoy. Some hostage families and their allies have marched in Jerusalem to protest any deal that does not free all the hostages at once and in which Israel gives up hope of crushing Hamas in Gaza.
President Trump, do not pressure us to give in to the Hamas. Pressure them to give in to us.
There is no confidence that this deal that is starting today with a number of hostages will actually continue to a deal that will have a second stage or a third stage.
Vice President-elect J.D. Vance says the reason there is progress is because of Trump's threatening Hamas.
But regardless of when that deal is struck, it will be because people are terrified that there are going to be consequences for Hamas.
Meanwhile, the fighting continues in Gaza, and the Houthis fired 2 ballistic missiles at central Israel overnight. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Here at home, concern in California as the fierce winds which fuel those massive wildfires in the Los Angeles area are expected to pick up again. The fear coming as firefighters are making progress against the blazes, which have killed at least 24 people, displaced tens of thousands of others, and destroyed more than 12,000 buildings. Charlene Aaron has the story.
Overnight, heavy winds causing a new fire in Ventura County.
The wind is blowing this fire right along the riverbed.
Red flag warnings in effect through Wednesday.
They said 70-mile-an-hour winds. It's going to be very difficult to contain that fire.
CBN contributor Paul Petit is in the region.
The big concern right now for LA firefighters are the winds. They're expected to pick back up again and last through Wednesday. That is a nightmare scenario. Right now, I'm at a mobile home park. This is right across the street from the Pacific Ocean. And as you can see, utter devastation. This mobile home park completely melted from the fires that came down from the Pacific Palisades. Now, we had a chance to ride along with a chaplain from the Los Angeles Police Department, and he talked about people, some of who lived here, he was able to minister to and talk to. He says this kind of destruction, even in the midst of what you're seeing right now, people become more open to hear the gospel and to share their faith and be ministered to.
CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground, providing much-needed relief to those who have lost everything.
We've responded to the Palisades area, working with Bel Air Church, and then also the Eaton fire, primarily with Cathedral Church, where we distributed over 1,000 meals the other day. One of the biggest needs right now, really and truly, is bottled water. Seems like we just can't get enough of it in there, so we're shipping truckloads into the area. But also hygiene supplies. Even though these people might be in hotels, which are overwhelmed, or staying with friends and family, being able to have a hygiene kit show up. Again, non-perishable food is also helpful for those who are on the move, making sure they can feed their families. Diapers, formula, all the things that you, again, don't think about until you have to have them. Those are the kinds of things that we're helping to get into the area right now.
The Eaton fire has already burned 14,000 acres, now just 33% contained. The Palisades fire is only 14% contained. On CBN's Faith Nation, Operation Blessing Director Drew Friedrich explained the unique challenges of helping victims in an ongoing crisis.
Traditionally, when we show up after a disaster, after a hurricane, after a terrible storm, the worst of it's over. But right now, with these fires still burning, the situation's changing minute by minute, hour by hour.
Meanwhile, international help is arriving to help battle the blazes as Canada, Mexico, South Africa, and even Ukraine have sent teams to assist. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Well, there you go. A couple things going, Garcia. All the warnings that the winds are coming back today and tomorrow. Number one. Number two, the hostage deal, we'll see. Apparently Hamas is looking at it seriously. The question is, how many hostages are there and how many are alive?
Yeah, that's big. Yep.
So we have to wait and see on that. All right. Let's check out the weather with old Mr. Pastrami himself.
Dry conditions continue with mostly clear skies and chilly, foggy mornings. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, patchy fog, then mostly sunny in mid-40s. For Vancouver, Portland, and Wilsonville, patchy frost and fog in McMinnville, then mostly sunny in mid-40s. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with patchy frost and fog, then clearing to mostly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low 40s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a calm wind. Mostly sunny skies today across central Oregon with daytime highs near 50 in Prineville, 49 in Bend, and near 45 in Sun River with a light south wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny with a high near 40. Along the Oregon coast, patchy frost and fog in Coos Bay, then sunny and near 55. Sunny skies for Port Orford with a high near 57. Brookings near 53 and Crescent City with a high near 58. In southern Oregon, patchy freezing fog, then mostly sunny with highs near 43 in Grants Pass, 42 in Medford, and near 47 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with a high in the low 40s. Into northern California, sunny with a high in the low 40s in Wairika, sunny and low to mid 60s for Redding and Chico. In Sacramento, areas of frost before 9 a.m., then sunny with a high near 58. Sunny skies today across the Bay Area with daytime high temperatures in the low 60s for Santa Rosa, Napa, and San Francisco with a light west wind. And today in San Jose, sunny with a high near 64 and lows in the upper 30s. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
All right, welcome back. A little fog over the top of us, and it is ice fog, folks, so be careful out there. It is very, very slippery.
Wow.
All right, the confirmation hearing for Pete Sexstaff to be head of the Defense Department is taking place, and apparently he is now speaking and being questioned. Let's go to that for a little bit this morning.
Continue tradition of bipartisanship and collaboration, and thank you for your thoughtful and conscientious service to the committee over many years. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd also like to take a moment to join Chairman Wicker in welcoming our new members, Senator Slotkin, Senator Banks, and Senator Sheehy. Welcome. We look forward to working with you. Mr. Hegseth, I welcome you and your family to today's hearing, and I'm also glad to recognize my former colleague, Norm Coleman, and Congressman Mike Waltz. Thank you, Congressman. Mr. Hegseth, I want to begin by saying that I respect and appreciate your military service in the Army National Guard. I know from experience that there is no greater privilege than to lead American soldiers, and I thank you for answering the call. You have been nominated to be the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary is responsible for leading a department of 3.5 million service members and civilians, an annual budget of nearly $900 billion, and hundreds of thousands of aircraft, ships, submarines, combat vehicles, satellites, and the nuclear arsenal. The Secretary also plays a powerful role with our allies, partners, and adversaries abroad. And as we speak, China is seeking to undermine our interests, intimidate our friends, and challenge our standing in the world. Russia's campaign against Ukraine threatens not only Europe, but the entire global order. Ongoing violence in the Middle East has teetered on the edge of all-out war, and the ideologies and actions of violent extremists endanger our citizens, even on our own soil, as the recent tragedy in New Orleans painfully reminds us. These are perilous times, and the position of Secretary of Defense demands a leader of unparalleled experience, wisdom, and above all else, character. The Secretary is expected to be a fair, nonpartisan, and responsible.
Okay, well, we'll keep you going. He is the ranking Democrat on the committee and saying his statements. But I thought that was pretty interesting because he is the ranking Democrat on the Armed Services Committee. And he just gave an indictment to the military, to the foreign policy and the military policy of the Biden administration.
100%. That was kind of shocking.
All these problems are going on out there.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, pray for Pete. He's in the middle of it.
Wow.
Starts today, so we'll see where it goes. We'll be in and out of that come throughout the morning here this morning.
All right. All right. Well, you know, we love aviation history.
Yes.
And we have some. This is presidential aviation history that was made on this day. On January 14th, 1943, Franklin D. Roosevelt becomes the first president to travel on official business by airplane. Crossing the Atlantic by air, Roosevelt flew in a Boeing 314 flying boat dubbed the Dixie Clipper to a World War II strategy meeting with Winston Churchill at Casablanca in North Africa. With German U-boats taking a heavy toll on American marine traffic in the Atlantic, Roosevelt's advisors reluctantly agreed to send him via airplane. Roosevelt, at a frail 60 years old, gamely made the arduous 17,000-mile round trip. The secret and circuitous journey began on January 11th, with the plane stopping several times over 4 days to refuel and for its passengers to rest. Roosevelt and his entourage left Florida, touched down in the Caribbean, continued down the southern coast of South Africa to Brazil, and then flew across the Atlantic to Gambia. They reached Casablanca on January 14th. After a successful meeting with Churchill, as well as some sightseeing and visits to the troops, Roosevelt retraced the route back to the United States, celebrating his 61st birthday somewhere over Haiti.
How about that? Wow. You know, writing in that thing had to be atrocious.
Are there any of those that survived?
Oh, gosh.
That's quite a...
I'd like to know where that one is, but I mean, that's like flying a tin can. I mean, it's got to be noisy and cold.
Cold, yeah. Yeah, and but you know, I was reading about this. They even had, on some of these things, they had bridal suites on the plane.
Well, okay, whatever, but I don't know how in the world you'd stay warm and comfortable in something. No wonder they had to land and let the passengers rest.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, we'll take a quick break, and I wonder if they served hot pastrami on those things.
Why not?
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter, and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
Your fears that seem paralyzing to you, your fears that may seem uncontrollable, they show you what you really value, what matters to you in this life. And that we have to remedy that not by valuing other things 0%, but by valuing Jesus more. Because when we know that He numbers the hairs on our head, that He controls the insignificant things like sparrows falling to the ground, we begin to think, yeah, He's got it, and I don't have to be in control. I don't need to fear.
This is a ministry moment on the Dove.
One day as I was reading through the scriptures, I was absolutely struck by the thought that God specifically tells us there are certain things that we should pursue. Everyone pursues something in their life, and a lot of those pursuits are vain. They're driven by ego. They end up in dead ends. But when God says we should pursue something, it's for a reason. If we pursue these things, we will be in the will of God, because God specifically says, hey, pursue this. Give time to this. Give your energy to this, and there's great rewards. I think it's something that every believer should not just have a hold of, but something that they should take in and make a vital part of their everyday life.
All right, good morning to you. Welcome back. Yesterday I had Tom Del Beccaro on with me. Tom also does a lot with Fox News, Fox Business. He writes articles. He is also formerly the chairman of the Republican Party in California, so we both have that same dirty T-shirt. And I asked him how he thought the first 100 days of the new Trump administration will go, and here's what he had to say.
First of all, I want to agree with your prior guest that the whole Greenland thing and everything else, everything was about Peak Hegseth, yada, yada, yada. And then he brought up Greenland, and they all went into a tizzy. So they looked over there. Although, what isn't being reported enough is that the NATO Secretary General several years ago, in 2022, said that NATO needed a greater presence there for security reasons. So what Trump is saying, NATO agrees with, the NATO Secretary General. He's not out on a limb on this. So the first 100 days are going to be, as a historian, I can tell you, probably unprecedented, because they're going to be moving on so many fronts that the media, even the modern media, with all its technological abilities and assets, won't be able to keep up. Many things will happen. They'll go not covered, I was going to say uncovered, but uncovered by the press. So it's going to be very fast-paced. I think, of course, on the big issue, the border, they figured out last time around how to do it. It took 2 or 3 years. Now they know how to do it. So they're going to have good results there fairly quickly. I think the Hamas, today the breaking news was that Hamas and Israel had a breakthrough. I think there will be a breakthrough. Hamas doesn't want anything to do with Trump. So I think on a foreign policy front, the world will become quieter. He'll defund Iran. Iran will become quieter. So on the foreign policy, I think it'll be a great success, even within those first 100 days. Prior chairman, you may have known him, Jim Brulte of California, said the hardest thing is saying no to your friends. The hardest thing for Republicans, for Trump, will be saying no to his Republican friends who are going to try and get something for themselves out of the tax bill and the reconciliation.
There you go.
That's the only question I have.
Okay. I've experienced that. I get it. He's absolutely right. Okay?
Yeah.
Trump's biggest problem may be fellow Republicans than it will be crazy Democrats.
Interesting. And I think, we saw that in his first administration. He really struggled within the party.
And he ended up getting people and it was a lot of infighting in the White House. So his second term, the 4 years was now this is how you're really going to do it. And he comes back and he rearranges it. So we'll see what happens. But Tom's a good guy. I like him. We have a lot in common. So
that made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How about that?
Most of my conversations do.
I'm glad to sit and talk to you.
Just kidding.
All right.
I'm in a little pungy mood this morning. Go ahead. I'm thinking pastrami sandwiches for lunch.
Tell us how you really feel.
Okay, I will.
Okay, well, we've looked at some real treasures that people have found in thrift shops. But for a bride-to-be, there was none bigger than what she found for her special day. After she couldn't find a gown that she liked at any bridal shop, a Florida woman bagged her dream wedding dress in a thrift store for just $25. Julia Weber felt disheartened after trying on dresses at a boutique shop and not finding anything that was right. So she couldn't believe it when she found the perfect dress in a local thrift store. Accompanied by her mom and sisters, the 26-year-old walked into her favorite secondhand store and immediately spotted the dress. She said, "It was the first one we went to. I zipped it up and it fit like a glove. I knew immediately it was the one." The speech pathologist from West Palm Beach said it was completely meant to be. Everyone had the same reaction. Their jaws were on the floor. Last month, she married her school sweetheart, who cried when he saw her walk down the aisle. Julia has been passionate about thrifting and grew up hunting through secondhand stores with her mother and two sisters, so looking for a wedding dress was a natural plan B. The dress was priced at $50, but that day it was half-off day, so Julia took it home for just $25. She couldn't find the Casablanca dress new online, but estimates it might have cost around $3,000. She paid $75 to have it professionally cleaned. Julia shared her thrifting discovery on social media and hopes it has inspired others to go hunting for secondhand pieces, and she plans to pass on the dress to a bride who can't afford a new one.
That's great.
Yeah,
she's got quite a social media following as well, and she, in it, commented on the groom shedding a tear as she came down the aisle. It's one of my favorite things about weddings is watching the groom as the bride comes up the aisle, because so many times, and you've probably seen this more than most in all the weddings that you've done, it's great to see that reaction.
It is. It's a special thing, and I become a little bit of a guardian of making sure that weddings remain sacred. I've been involved where weddings were just like, what's the next trick?
Oh,
and in my spirit, I don't feel good about it. This is a very sacred moment.
That's true.
It's okay to have fun, but it has to be sacred.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Philippians 4:7 is a scripture for you today. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. Wow, what a great word for you today. Take that with you. We got more coming up as we continue on. Very, very icy out there this morning. Please slow down, drive carefully, allow some extra commute time this morning.
My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. My lighthouse,
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
I was intrigued by the international news reporting, and then there were also so many stories of hope and encouragement.
When you meet the needs of others, he meets your needs.
One day I came across a video through YouTube of CBN. Terry said, "The Lord's healing you."
I want to see that program every day. It lifts me up. It gives me hope.
Watch the 700 Club Tuesday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
We have conflicts, but we have confidence. There isn't anything I can do to stop war. There's not anything you can do to stop war. But here's what you can do, and this is what this is all about, and this is what I hope you will get today. You can become the person of God that He created you to be, so that no matter what happens, you're ready to stand up and be God's person. And our confidence becomes so powerful because Jesus summarized all that He wants us to know. In fact, I kind of skimmed over it because I didn't want to give it away too soon. But I want you to hear what Jesus said. We would have expected Him to say, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, so be prepared for trouble." Or we would have expected Him to say, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, keep an anxious eye on the times. Expect to feel uneasy and prepare for the many foes and the woes to come." But that is not what Jesus said. Jesus said, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars.
see that you are not troubled. Are you kidding me? I mean, I just gave you a pretty dire report. And Jesus is saying to us at the end of this report, y'all don't be troubled. Sometimes the scripture just almost makes you laugh. The Greek word for troubled means to be terrified, it means to cry aloud, it means to scream. Jesus is telling us not to panic, even when we are surrounded by wars and rumors of wars. How is that possible? How can you live in a world like we live in today and not be troubled? Well, here's the answer. It's all wrapped up in the peace that you find in God's promise, in God's presence, and in God's plan.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Would you like to know your faith better? Then join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
Well, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, where so much is going on, it's just almost too hard to keep track of it. That's why Jerry has me here.
Thank goodness.
To keep him on track, going in the right direction. Thank you, Pam. In an hour tag, you're it.
Yeah, she's real pleased about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, good morning to you. A lot going on the news this morning. As we speak, Pete Hagstaff is before the Armed Services Committee in the United States Senate doing his confirmation hearings. We'll take you in and out of that as it progresses this morning. A lot of problems in California. We'll check out the next round of weather that's going to impact things down there. And there apparently is a hostage deal on the table with Hamas and Israel, and the United States is involved in that. We'll bring that all to you. So a lot going on, just a few things. And I don't know, maybe we'll be shopping in Greenland before the year's over. We'll be at the new destination resort. Yeah. All right, anyway, good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. Anything special?
Oh, yeah, maybe you want to visit Greenland.
Okay.
Today's the day to book it because today is National Shop for Travel Day. So after we come off the holidays and everything kind of settles down, you might start thinking about vacation opportunities, which brings to mind the situation in Southern California as well. Not only are residents struggling down there and obviously in this crisis, but, you know, California is a destination for a lot of vacations.
Yes,
Southern California especially.
Yes.
So, you know, we don't know what those kinds of plans have been disrupted, but it is the day to shop for travel. And I don't know, are there any like airline bargains this time of year? Is there any advantage to shopping for travel today?
Well, I know, you know, you just got to shop, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, shop around.
Shop till you drop. Enjoy. It's Ratification Day. It commemorates the ratification of the Treaty of Paris on January 14th, 1784, that officially ended the American Revolution.
Oh.
So there you go. National Dress Up Your Pet Day. Now, I don't know why anybody would want to dress up their pets, but there's two Doberman pinchers that look like skiers with their goggles on and a bouquet of flowers, of all things. But
I know, they look like a couple of nice bank robbers.
Yeah, they do. They don't really look like something that would protect your property that well, but they were pretty ferocious looking, so, but very sweet girls. Anyway, it's also National, one thing to eat, National Hot Pastrami Day. You know, what's there to not like about pastrami? Yeah. Made from beef. Others make their pastrami from pork, mutton, or turkey, but I think beef is probably especially in the like we've been talking about the Carnegie Deli, a great old Jewish deli in New York City that was right by Carnegie Hall. Yeah. And it's closed, but boy, did they make some serious sandwiches. But New York kosher butcher Sussman Volk earns credit for producing the first pastrami sandwich all the way back in 1887. And there's lots of stuff you can put on top of it, you know, like, what's that stuff we put on hot dogs?
Oh,
sauerkraut. Yeah. You know, sometimes it's like It's a prompting game, you know. But
you can have coleslaw or sauerkraut.
There you go.
I'd rather have the coleslaw.
And then how about a little bit of horseradish?
Horseradish, cheese, and then the au jus.
Yeah. And how thick do you make it? Because the Carnegie Deli.
So we were at Carnegie Deli one time. This was years ago.
Yeah.
And it's closed now. But
Yes, it is.
It's an iconic place. But you go in and they have these bowls of full pickles. Mm-hmm. And they were different colors. But that was the snack. Some people put chips on the table, they put pickles.
Yes.
And so I ordered the pastrami sandwich. I think I'm still burping. It was, look, it was at least this tall. You could not get your mouth over it.
Yeah, yes. And you know, it's great that you were able to experience it. It's too bad it's gone because that was one of the genuine New York experiences when you visited New York City.
That, and then you couldn't get out of there without a piece of the New York cheesecake.
Yes. Oh, and that's famous. Yeah.
So there went your 401k.
I'm getting hungry. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. All right, good morning to you. Well, he puts horseradishes on his pancakes, and he does the weather here.
Dry conditions continue with mostly clear skies and chilly, foggy mornings. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, patchy fog, then mostly sunny in mid-40s. For Vancouver, Portland, and Wilsonville, patchy frost and fog in McMinnville, then mostly sunny in mid-40s. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with patchy frost and fog, then clearing to mostly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low 40s. For Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a calm wind. Mostly sunny skies today across central Oregon with daytime highs near 50 in Prineville, 49 in Bend, and near 45 in Sun River with a light south wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny with a high near 40. Along the Oregon coast, patchy frost and fog in Coos Bay, then sunny and near 55. Sunny skies for Port Orford with a high near 57. Brookings near 53, and Crescent City with a high near 58. In southern Oregon, patchy freezing fog, then mostly sunny with highs near 43 in Grants Pass, 42 in Medford, and near 47 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with a high in the low 40s. Into northern California, sunny with a high in the low 40s in Wairika, sunny and low to mid-60s for Redding and Chico. In Sacramento, areas of frost before 9 a.m., then sunny with a high near 58. Sunny skies today across the Bay Area with daytime high temperatures in the low 60s for Santa Rosa, Napa, and San Francisco with a light west wind. And today in San Jose, sunny with a high near 64 and lows in the upper 30s. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Day off today on Mount Ashland, but it's a gorgeous sight, and the snow coverage is good.
Yeah, look at shadows over there on the mountain.
And you know, we don't have an overabundance of snow this year. I'd say our coverage is about medium, but their ability to groom what they have on the mountain and to move it and shape it, and especially with the new groomers, is phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance to get up there, by all means do it. We're not open today and tomorrow, but Thursday, and then we have night skiing intact right now. So Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. In fact, I know a whole bunch of. Oh, look at that! That's yesterday.
That's you.
That's at the top. No, that's me standing, filming somebody else.
Oh,
yeah, that's not me skiing. But
see, that's good.
Yeah, well, not really.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, well, you're an instructor. So.
But look at the snow. I mean, the fog over the valley.
Yeah,
is gorgeous. And that's the thing about night skiing is that when you get up on the hill, and we're going to have beautiful weather through the rest of the week.
You see the city lights.
The twinkling of the lights in the valley, the moon up as it is, and then the bright reflection off the snow. It is phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance to do it, by all means, get up there. And I don't even work for them.
Well, I was just going to say, yes, he just got paid to say all that, but no, that was look,
No,
we love our backyard.
Yeah, we do, you know.
We love our backyard.
And we're community
owned. Recreation in the world right here.
Yeah, it's a very unusual situation, the ski resort that we have. It's not some big corporation that's got this.
No,
this
is
local.
Local owned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, we see footage of skiing, and it brings to mind we all have temptations in our lives, don't we? You know, there was a time in my life I had to go to class while I was in college, and I was tempted to just go skiing. How do you deal with temptations like that?
Go skiing.
I did.
Yeah.
I got in big trouble for it, too. But anyway, Dr. Anthony George encourages us that no matter what you're going through, the age-old promise that God will never let you be tempted beyond what we can handle. And here he is with great encouragement.
God is the one who is responsible for our lives as our Heavenly Father. We belong to him. Jesus even said concerning God's sheep that we are in the hands of Jesus and Jesus is in the hands of the Father. And then we know we're indwelled by the Holy Spirit. So think about it. God is either sovereign over our lives or he is not. And if there's anything that gets into your life without God's permission, then God is not who we think he is. But I'm here to tell you, God is who we think he is. He's who his word says that he is. And if it happens to you, it had to have God's permission to happen to you. God is the one who allows these adversities to come our way, even as he is lovingly guarding and watching over us. We don't always know why, but one thing we do know, as my grandmother used to say, honey, the Lord will never put more on you than you can handle. And you know what that is? It's a paraphrase of 1 Corinthians 10:13, where it says God will never allow us to be tried and tested beyond what we are able to bear. That is a promise in the Bible. God knows what our capacity is to handle adversity and hardship, and he promises us he will never allow more to come on us than he's given us the strength to handle. Now, if you're like me, there have been times when I've looked up God and said, God, I'm just going to have to trust you know what you're doing because I'm about to snap. I'm about to break it. You've allowed more on me than I think I can handle, but God says he knows best. And he knows what he's doing when he allows these things to come into our lives. But make no mistake about it, he is the one who lets it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Question. Are you asking God to do something that you should be doing?
That is a huge question. And, you know, that's a tough one that we sometimes wrestle with, too, because, you know, we don't want to get in the way of what God's doing in our life.
Yeah, but often we ask God to do something that we don't want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we get frustrated that he doesn't do it, when he's really saying through his silence, you do it.
Yeah.
Change your character and do it.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, well, let's take a look at some of the top stories on this this Tuesday morning. Of course, a lot going on. Right now, as we speak, Pete Hegseth is before the Armed Services Committee in the U.S. Senate. He's going through his confirmation hearings. Let's slip in there a little bit and see what's going on. Here's a little bit of the committee in progress.
We are not Republicans. We are not Democrats. We are American warriors. Our standards will be high and they will be equal, not equitable. That's a very different word. We need to make sure every warrior is fully qualified on their assigned weapons system, every pilot's fully qualified and current on the aircraft they are flying, and every general or flag officer is selected for leadership or promotion purely based on performance, readiness, and merit. Leaders at all levels will be held accountable, and warfighting and lethality and the readiness of the troops and their families will be our only focus. This has been my focus ever since I first put on the uniform as a young Army ROTC cadet at Princeton University in 2001. I joined the military because I love my country and felt an obligation to defend it. I served with incredible Americans in Guantanamo Bay, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and on the streets of Washington, D.C., many of which are with me here today. This includes enlisted soldiers I helped become American citizens, and Muslim allies I helped immigrate from Iraq and Afghanistan. Because when I took off the uniform, my mission never stopped. Now, it is true and has been acknowledged that I don't have a similar biography to defense secretaries of the last 30 years. But as President Trump also told me, we've repeatedly placed people atop the Pentagon with supposedly the right credentials, whether they are retired generals, academics, or defense contractor executives. And where has it gotten us? He believes, and I humbly agree, that it's time to give someone with dust on his boots the helm. a change agent, someone with no vested interest in certain companies or specific programs or approved narratives. My only special interest is the warfighter. Deterring wars, and if called upon, winning wars by ensuring our warriors never enter a fair fight. We let them win, and we bring them home. Like many of my generation, I've been there. I've led troops in combat. I've been on patrol for days. I've pulled a trigger down range, heard bullets whiz by, flex-cuffed insurgents, called in close air support, led medevacs, dodged IEDs, pulled out dead bodies, and knelt before a battlefield cross. This is not academic for me. This is my life. I led then, and I will lead now.
Well, there you go. Some of the opening statements, powerful, by Pete Hegseth, who is now before the Armed Services Committee for his confirmation hearings in Washington, D.C. It's expected this will get a little lively.
Okay.
Some of the Democrats are going to go after character and some other things. But I think he staked out his ground. It's about a ready military, ready to win, capable of winning, and having the resources to win.
And he sure drew the distinction between him and some others that have gone before him coming into this position.
Well, he's basically saying is the Defense Department is no longer for sale to a procurement organization.
Yeah. That was
that's
big.
basically
That's
what he's
very
saying.
big.
You know, that's big stuff.
Yeah.
In other news, California, we find out now that Governor Newsom, which is just a mystery, his whole thing is a mystery of how he's handling the fire. He's spending a lot of time defending himself and blaming others. Then we find out that he's met with the Democrats to take $50 million of taxpayer funds to hold off President Trump deporting people. $25 million will go to the California Department of Justice, and $25 million proposed by the state Senate leaders to defend immigrants against deportation when a big portion of the state is burning down.
Mm-hmm.
His handling of this fire, his response to the fire, and the fact that he has not held a legitimate news conference about the fire and what they're doing is pathetic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's dangerous.
Yeah.
In the middle of all of this, be advised that Los Angeles now is going to face another battle of winds starting today, 12 to 30 hours, starting about noon today. The winds are expected to be 60 to 70 miles an hour. They come in from the east, they sweep down, they create what they call wind shears as they cross over the mountains, which makes it very dangerous for some of these airplanes to fly. That particular airplane there is the one that was literally parked outside our door here during the summer. And there's a couple of DC-10s flying. Helicopters are flying. However, not all of the fires are contained. And here comes the exact scenario that started these fires, or at least were a result of these fires, and that is high winds, low humidity, and very dry conditions, and that all starts today. Now, they're saying at the end of this week, Thursday and Friday, that the weather will change and the offshore winds will come in. They'll be a little cooler and a little moist, but no rain. And so today and tomorrow is going to be very, very critical in Southern California, so be praying for those people because it is a mess down there. Will Greenland be part of the United States? Well, there's an act before Congress. It's called Make Greenland Great Again Act. And this is the beginning steps of a bill inside the Congress to prepare President-elect Trump to set the scenario, the stage, or at least give him the okay to go after Greenland and to apparently buy it away from Denmark. Denmark says it's not for sale, but you wave a big check in front of their nose and it may be for sale.
Maybe, yeah, right.
And apparently the citizens of Greenland and the Prime Minister up there kind of likes the idea. In fact, he's coming where? To Mar-a-Lago. To talk. So what's this all about? It's obviously about resources and minerals and perhaps energy, but most of all, it has to do with strategic military protection. I don't know if this becomes a territory or a state.
You know what the population of Greenland is?
It was 4 million?
No.
But
56,000.
Okay. So that's a quarter of Oregon.
Yeah.
And Oregon's only 4 million.
What's the population of the Rogue Valley? Like 100,000 or something?
180. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not even as big as the Rogue Valley.
Well, there you go.
Oh, man.
Okay, so there you go.
But it is strategic.
It is very strategic.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they look at this and do a lot line adjustment with Maine. They take Maine and they just draw a big line up there and they come back and they annex it in. I can't help but think that Denmark will succumb to this, because if the leadership of Greenland lean towards this, think what they're going to get. They're going to get all the bennies of being a part of America.
Right.
I mean, who else is offering this?
Right. And, wouldn't you like to, I'd like to know a little bit of the history. How did Denmark end up with Greenland?
I don't know. That's a good question. But anyway, what's happening is strategically in Congress, they're moving forward to lay the groundwork for President Trump to go after it.
Is Trump playing Monopoly?
Is he playing Monopoly? Well, he's not only playing it, he's the banker.
I think you're
when
right.
the banker is playing Monopoly, you got a real problem. All right, some other things going on. We'll find out here shortly, but apparently there is a deal on the table for hostage release with Hamas, and they're thinking about it. We'll let you know on that. The other thing is that Christopher Wray, head of the FBI, yesterday came out with a report saying, and I don't know why this isn't the #1 story of the day, saying that China does have the capability of hacking our power and water grids. So that popped out. And then at midnight last night, the Department of Justice released the Jack Smith report on President Trump's supposedly January 6 issues. And after listening to some of the commentaries this morning, it appears that Jack Smith's report is more defensive than it is prosecution. Talking about how good he is as a prosecutor, and he's doing his job, and this is all about doing the right thing. But basically, he was illegally hired, he was illegally paid for, and the report's falling flat.
Right.
So
now, isn't it interesting though that they released the report, even though this whole thing, his appointment, the funding, all of that has been deemed illegal, unlawful is how they put it in the news. Isn't there any recourse on unlawful activities and acts?
Well, you would think. I mean, obviously, what you have now in the way justice system in America, FBI and DOJ, it's been compromised. And so hopefully some of this stuff comes to light. I think that what we'll see, when I had Tom Adele Baccaro on yesterday talking about this, he thinks the first 100 days will be such a whirlwind of things that the media won't be able to keep up with it. And part of it is going to be the backlash of all of the lawfare stuff and the handling of the DOJ and the FBI. When those two people get confirmed, when you get a new FBI director and a new DOJ director, you get those two people in there, you know, it's going to be
a new day.
It's going to be a new day. All right, so those are some of the top stories as we are hunting for
pastrami.
Yeah. You know, they used to have a great pastrami shop down the street here. And it closed too.
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't know where you can get a good pastrami sandwich around here.
I don't either.
Got to think about that. I do know where you can get, what's the other one? Not a pastrami, but when it's just beef. It's
you're not talking about Reuben, are you?
No, French dip.
Oh, French. Oh.
Now, I tell you, one of the better ones I've had, that's for giving away plugs, is the Point.
Oh.
In Central Point.
Really?
You know why?
Why?
Well, it's not only a great sandwich, but they bring you a cup of really hot
jus
and horseradish. And their horseradish is homemade, and boy, oh boy, oh boy.
You're killing me.
It makes your nose run.
See, you're killing me.
We'll be right back.
Just keep on giving. How far is heaven? Yeah, Lord, can you tell me? How far is heaven? 'Cause I just gotta know how far.
Get ready for fun at Rogue Ski Shop Think Snow Sale. Boulder Gear clothing now 20% off. Goggles, adults starting at $29, kids starting at $26. All Scott gloves 20% off. If you ski or ride, it's time to slide into Rogue Ski Shop Medford.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Hello, my name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, seen right here on Dove TV. You say wretched. Does this have something to do with cats and fur balls? No, it doesn't. Instead, it's understanding we are wretched sinners in need of an amazing Savior.
The National Religious Broadcasters 2024 TV Station of the Year Award winner, theDove TV.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you. Well, some interesting things. Water being such a precious commodity in all of our lives, and certainly a needed commodity these days in Southern California, in the middle of everything. Have you ever run out of water?
Oh, have I? Oh, man.
God, it's a weird feeling, isn't it?
Oh, when you turn on...
It's kind of scary.
When you turn on the tap and nothing comes out...
Yeah.
And
you live on a well.
And you live on a well. Oh man, it's just your brain immediately engages, and you start troubleshooting.
Yeah.
What's going on?
What's going on?
And of course, you jump on the first one, the worst one first, and that is, oh no, the well's empty.
Yeah.
That's the worst case scenario. But that's where you go.
That's where you go.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, something big has been discovered in Oregon. The previously unmapped aquifer in Oregon is estimated to be more than 3 times the size of Lake Mead Reservoir in Nevada, and this is found beneath the Central Oregon Cascades. Evidence of water beneath the Cascades in Central Oregon has long been as clear as the McKenzie River, which ends up, providing a lot of water for the Willamette Valley. But researchers say now that they sent out to gain a better understanding of the volcanic transition zone, where the 2 parts of the Cascade Range come together, better known or near what they call the Santiam Pass. What they found was an enormous aquifer beneath the Central Oregon Cascades containing more than 80 cubic kilometers of water, a volume 3 times the capacity of Lake Mead in Nevada. Now, what's interesting about this, it is a, quote, continental-sized lake stored in the rocks at the top of the mountains, like a big water tower.
That's amazing. Wow.
Okay. What do you do with this?
Yeah.
And the other thing is it self-perpetuating? Now, the water going in and water coming out?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's the deal here? This is huge.
But yeah, it is. It is.
Okay. So anyway, who owns it?
Oh, I'll give you one guess.
No, yeah, well, yeah, Uncle Sam, but he gets blamed for everything.
Yeah,
actually, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and if he doesn't own it, Oregon's belling up behind it saying, "Well, it might be ours."
So what do they do with it? This is a huge discovery.
Right.
And is it self-perpetuating? I think that's one we have to find. Is it kind of like Crater Lake, where water comes in and water goes out?
Yeah.
Crater Lake, we know that we have these hot springs down underneath that keep the water coming up, and then it goes out. It's called the beginning of the Rogue River.
Rogue River, yeah, the watershed. It's amazing.
Watershed. So, anyway, 3 times the size of Lake Mead, and Lake Mead almost went dry a couple of years ago.
Oh.
But I think it's filling back up. So anyway, when we were through the drought season. So
man, that's quite a discovery. And how do you discover that? What do they do?
I don't know if a guy was just drilling a hole.
Drilling? Yeah, like
out it comes. I don't know. So anyway, all right. Good morning to you. Let's take a look at Wall Street for this Tuesday morning, and thank you, Preston, over there at Smart Lawn. He sponsors us. Thank you, buddy. The Dow's up 70. We'll call it 78 points. The Nas is up 50. and the S&P up about 9. So not big numbers this morning, but they are all in the green. In the meantime, that did push gold down a few pennies, 26.77. Silver's hanging in there at about $30 an ounce. And crude oil says it's down, but really?
Is it
$80?
really? Yeah.
Is it down?
Yeah, I don't
no,
think
it ain't
so.
down.
Nah.
No, that's a figment of your imagination. The red means nothing.
I wonder. We've seen interesting numbers come across since the election, and we're speculating on which way it goes, what's triggering this. Do you anticipate any movement in the price of oil with the new president?
Yes, it's just what does it mean, and how does he first approach it?
Yeah.
Does he get the clearance to drill, baby, drill?
Yeah, right. Right.
You have President Biden putting everything on it to stop it, but those are EOs, executive orders. I suspect the 100 and some odd EOs that President Trump's going to enact day one might include lifting those so they can get in there and go. And I would say the pipeline's going to be opened up.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So,
yeah,
who knows? It's a new day. We're less than a week away from all this stuff happening.
Yeah.
I suspect once they bring the cost of energy down, everything comes down. That will be the indicator. That will be the first move. Get the cost of energy down.
I think you're right.
So,
Well, and of course, one of the things that he's going to be up against is a battle with, maybe a battle with Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He's putting away money, millions of dollars, to fight any kind of deportation of illegal aliens in California. And with the fires raging, Gavin Newsom again is in the news, and maybe for all the wrong reasons. But with that, actor, producer, race car driver, and conservative activist Antonio Sabato Jr. joined Newsmax's Newsline and responded to this clip of Gavin Newsom.
I've been pretty expressive about that in context of someone threatening our first responders in terms of supporting the immediacy of their needs.
So that's what you take it as, that President-elect Trump is threatening the first responders here.
Well, I mean, it's what he said. He said, I'm not going to support the firefighting efforts. I'm not going to support the state of California as it relates to emergency management. He made this pretty clear during the election, unless they do my bidding.
The worst thing is that the American people are actually believing this stuff, these lies from these people. Gavin Newsom is the worst governor, one of the worst leaders this country's ever had, and is only a destruction to the American dream and the American people. And he's never done anything to support the American people. He's never done anything to protect them. And look what's going on right now. And the fingers have to be pointed right at him because he's the leader of the state. And all the money that they get, all the billions of dollars that they get for illegals that come here and they destroy our American values and everything in our country, and all the drugs that are pouring in, these are no jokes. And the American people are standing there watching their homes burn to the ground. And then they had all these cars just stopped in the middle of nowhere, like a complete mayhem. In Los Angeles, multi-billion-dollar, they talk about the city as being like the growing city, all these celebrities, money here, money there. And then when the American people are losing everything they ever had, will never vote for a Democrat ever again, especially in states like California. Look what's going on. Wake up. I've been gone from California almost 10 years now. And what I've seen is it's going lower and lower and lower. And the American people are paying more taxes, more regulations, more this, more that. And look what's going on. The city's on fire, literally on fire. And these government people sit there eating their ice cream, going, blame it on Trump, blame it on this, blame it. No, we blame it on you, Gavin Newsom. We blame it on you, the mayor of Los Angeles, and everybody else, including there's just a list of people who get paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars every year to destroy cities like Los Angeles.
Well, you can sense there's a level of frustration and anger, rightfully so, and it's coming their way.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because you see social media posts. I've seen social media posts defending Gavin Newsom, but I'm seeing other posts from prominent celebrity-type Democrats in Southern California who have lost it, who are singing a little different tune right now. Yeah. They're becoming much more critical of that administration.
Well, let us not forget, thousands of people have been displaced. 24, 26 have died. More are expected to be discovered. The horrifying statistics of this is amazing. And in time, the ineptness of this administration and leadership down there will continue to surface. And I think that Newsom's future is toast, Bass is done, and Kamala Harris might as well just stay in Washington, D.C. and sweep floors.
Yeah, yes.
Because California is not going to do this again to themselves. So we'll see what happens. And there could be a switch and a change in Sacramento with some of the people there.
I thought it was interesting. Gavin Newsom was criticizing Donald Trump for some things that he said, not now during the fires, but during the campaign cycle. But let it be known, Donald Trump actually predicted this kind of a situation.
Not only that, he's flying there.
Oh, good.
He's going to go there and take a look at it before his election, before his inauguration.
Right. Great. That's. I'm glad to hear it.
You know, maybe you need a tower builder to rebuild a state. Big T over there.
Yeah, big T.
Just the thought of it.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, we'll be right back.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
The Bible is unchanging and timeless, and its words are relevant for every generation. Join Dr. Jeremiah on The Next Turning Point as he delivers the unchanging Word of God to an ever-changing world. With his sincere, straightforward teaching style, David Jeremiah provides a rich study of Scripture from which you can find spiritual strength, encouragement, and guidance for today's world. Join Dr. Jeremiah on The Next Turning Point.
Wednesdays and weekends on the Dove TV.
It can be puzzling assembling all the right pieces for your insurance needs in retirement. I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Guiding you through the stormy seas of insurance, Lighthouse stands out as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
On the John Ankerberg Show, how can you be sure that you'll spend eternity with God? Today we're going to talk about a topic that goes with that, and we're talking about the gift that you can't do without. Everybody likes gifts, right? You like a gift. I like gifts. But God says He's given away a gift that you can't do without. Join me for the John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
All right, good morning to you. 36 minutes past the hour, checking in with CBN Newswatch. A lot going on in the Middle East. Is there a hostage deal? And, of course, the fires in Southern California as we check in with CBN Newswatch this morning.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Let's begin this Tuesday in the Middle East, where Hamas has reportedly accepted a draft agreement for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and the release of dozens of hostages. That is according to the Associated Press. The details are reportedly being finalized. Both the outgoing Biden administration and President-elect Donald Trump's team are pushing hard for a deal, but many in Israel are deeply concerned about the reports on the possible agreement.
The hostage ceasefire deal is still up in the air, but the U.S. is talking optimistically.
The parties are right on the cusp of being able to close this deal. Whether or not we go from where we are now to actually closing it, the hours and days ahead will tell. But I believe it is there for the taking, and we're going to do everything we can to push it to get it across the line.
There's been a handshake, and they're getting it finished, and maybe by the end of the week. But it has to take place.
Media reports say 33 hostages would be released at the start of the deal, but Israel is not sure how many of those would be alive. The release of more hostages would be negotiated in later stages. Israel appears ready to sign the deal, but whether Hamas will is unknown.
We see some progress in the negotiations. Israel wants
a hostage deal. Israel is working with our American friends in order to achieve a hostage deal, and soon we will know whether the other side wants the same thing.
Palestinian people deserve peace, the right to determine their own futures. Israel deserves peace and real security, and the hostages and their families deserve to be reunited. And so we're working urgently to close this deal.
This progress comes after what the Times of Israel reported as a tense meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and President-elect Trump's top Mideast envoy. Some hostage families and their allies have marched in Jerusalem to protest any deal that does not free all the hostages at once and in which Israel gives up hope of crushing Hamas in Gaza.
President Trump, do not pressure us to give in to the Hamas. Pressure them to give in to us.
There is no confidence that this deal that is starting today with a number of hostages will actually continue to a deal that will have a second stage or a third stage.
Vice President-elect J.D. Vance says the reason there is progress is because of Trump's threatening Hamas.
But regardless of when that deal is struck, it will be because people are terrified that there are going to be consequences for Hamas.
Meanwhile, the fighting continues in Gaza, and the Houthis fired 2 ballistic missiles at central Israel overnight. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Here at home, concern in California as the fierce winds which fuel those massive wildfires in the Los Angeles area are expected to pick up again. The fear coming as firefighters are making progress against the blazes, which have killed at least 24 people, displaced tens of thousands of others, and destroyed more than 12,000 buildings. Charlene Aaron has the story.
Overnight, heavy winds causing a new fire in Ventura County.
The wind is blowing this fire right along the riverbed.
Red flag warnings in effect through Wednesday.
They said 70-mile-an-hour winds. It's going to be very difficult to contain that fire.
CBN contributor Paul Petit is in the region.
The big concern right now for LA firefighters are the winds. They're expected to pick back up again and last through Wednesday. That is a nightmare scenario. Right now, I'm at a mobile home park. This is right across the street from the Pacific Ocean. And as you can see, utter devastation. This mobile home park completely melted from the fires that came down from the Pacific Palisades. Now, we had a chance to ride along with a chaplain from the Los Angeles Police Department. And he talked about people, some of who lived here, he was able to minister to and talk to. He says this kind of destruction, even in the midst of what you're seeing right now, people become more open to hear the gospel and to share their faith and be ministered to.
CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground, providing much needed relief to those who have lost everything.
We've responded to the Palisades area, working with Bel Air Church, and then also the Eaton fire, primarily with Cathedral Church, where we distributed over 1,000 meals the other day. One of the biggest needs right now really and truly is bottled water. Seems like we just can't get enough of it in there, so we're shipping truckloads into the area. But also hygiene supplies, even though these people might be in hotels, which are overwhelmed, or staying with friends and family, being able to have a hygiene kit show up. Again, non-perishable food is also helpful for those who are on the move, making sure they can feed their families. Diapers, formula, all the things that you, again, don't think about until you have to have them. Those are the kinds of things that we're helping to get into the area right now.
The Eaton fire has already burned 14,000 acres, now just 33% contained. The Palisades fire is only 14% contained. On CBN's Faith Nation, Operation Blessing Director Drew Friedrich explained the unique challenges of helping victims in an ongoing crisis.
Traditionally, when we show up after a disaster, after a hurricane, after a terrible storm, the worst of it's over. But right now, with these fires still burning, the situation's changing minute by minute, hour by hour.
Meanwhile, international help is arriving to help battle the blazes as Canada, Mexico, South Africa, and even Ukraine have sent teams to assist. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
All right, we'll keep you updated on that. The weather is the issue because the Santa Ana winds are due to kick in today through tomorrow, anywhere from 60 to 70 mile an hour. All right, let's check in with local weather with the guy that's always kicked in.
Dry conditions continue with mostly clear skies and chilly, foggy mornings. So today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, patchy fog, then mostly sunny in mid-40s. For Vancouver, Portland, and Wilsonville, patchy frost and fog in McMinnville, then mostly sunny in mid-40s. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with patchy frost and fog, then clearing to mostly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the low 40s. For Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a calm wind. Mostly sunny skies today across central Oregon with daytime highs near 50 in Prineville, 49 in Bend, and near 45 in Sun River with a light south wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny with a high near 40. Along the Oregon coast, patchy frost and fog in Coos Bay, then sunny and near 55. Sunny skies for Port Orford with a high near 57. Brookings near 53, and Crescent City with a high near 58. In southern Oregon, patchy freezing fog, then mostly sunny with highs near 43 in Grants Pass, 42 in Medford, and near 47 in Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny with a high in the low 40s. Into Northern California, sunny with a high in the low 40s in Wairika, sunny and low to mid-60s for Redding and Chico. In Sacramento, areas of frost before 9 a.m., then sunny with a high near 58. Sunny skies today across the Bay Area with daytime high temperatures in the low 60s for Santa Rosa, Napa, and San Francisco with a light west wind. And today in San Jose, sunny with a high near 64 and lows in the upper 30s. It's a look at your Tuesday weather on the Dove.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to slip over to Washington, D.C. there before the Armed Services Committee. It is the confirmation hearing of Pete Hegseth. How do you say his last name?
Hegseth.
Hegseth. I forgot the H. Okay.
Yeah.
Hegseth. And let's check in and see how that committee hearing's going.
And less capable?
I'm incredibly grateful for the two women who've served our military in uniform, and including in the Central Intelligence Agency, contributions on the battlefield, indispensable contributions. Senator, I would like to clarify, when I'm talking about that issue, it's not about the capabilities of men and women, it's about standards. And this committee has talked a lot about standards. Standards that we, unfortunately, over time, have seen eroded in certain duty positions, certain schools, certain places, which affects readiness, which is what I care about the most, readiness on the battlefield.
I appreciate that.
And so my comments point time and time again to standards.
Your statements publicly have not been to that effect. After your nomination, you did state to a group of reporters that you, quote, support all women serving in our military today who do a fantastic job across the globe, including combat. So what I'm confused about, Mr. Hegseth, is which is it? Why should women in our military, if you were the Secretary of Defense, believe that they would have a fair shot and an equal opportunity to rise through the ranks? If on the one hand, you say that women are not competent, they make our military less effective, and on the other hand, you say, oh no, now that I've been nominated to be the Secretary of Defense, I've changed my view on women in the military. What do you have to say to the almost 400,000 women who are serving today about your position on whether they should be capable to rise through the highest ranks of our military?
Senator, I would say I would be honored to have the opportunity to serve alongside you, shoulder to shoulder, men and women, black, white, all backgrounds, with a shared purpose. Our differences are not what define us. Our unity and our shared purpose is what define us, and you will be treated fairly and with dignity, honor, and respect, just like every man and woman in uniform, just like the men and women that I've worked with in my veterans organizations, to include when I was a headquarters and headquarters company commander in the Minnesota National Guard.
Well, I appreciate your 11th hour conversion, but Mr. Chairman, for the record, I would like to submit Chapter 5, The Deadly Obsession with Women Warriors, for the record. Mr. Hegseth.
Without objection, it will be.
Okay, so there you go. You can see where it's coming from. That she's putting words in his mouth because she read his statement and he didn't say what the statement said.
Yeah.
So this is the game that's played.
It's getting a little testy already.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it will be throughout the rest of the day.
Right.
I think he is being coached to stay on message and don't drift from that. And it has to do with merit, not quota, in his mind. So that's a big difference.
You remember that thing, meritocracy? What a great thing. Wow. And maybe it'll come back.
The problem is, why are you and I here?
God works in mysterious ways.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Because Christ is in our relationships at home, there should be a new quality to that relationship. It doesn't always happen all at once, but it happens along the way. As we submit ourselves to the Lord, as we should become better husbands and better wives and better parents and more obedient children and better workers and better bosses. Why? Because Christ is in the equation. Christ is everything. The title of this series is Christ Above All. He's more important than anything we've talked about today, to understand that it's all about our relationship with Christ. And here's Paul telling us, you want to honor the Christ that is the center of your life. It's going to affect how you live, how you relate at home, how you relate at work, how you function as parents. Christ is a difference maker.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Okay, welcome back. And yesterday I had Tom Del Beccaro back on. He writes and contributes to a lot of the major news outlets out there, Fox News, Fox Business, other publications. He formerly was the chairman of the Republican Party there in the state of California. So I asked him, is it true that Gavin Newsom took $100 million from the state firefighting fund in California and did something else with it? And here's his response.
It is true that in one fell swoop he took $100 million, but the number over the years has been more than $300 million that he has taken away from fire. And he lied about what they actually were doing. He made some outrageous claim of millions of acres being treated or remediated, but it was only like 90,000. Or it was I'm not sure the actual numbers, but he lied and was caught lying about it. So it's just not a priority with him. You saw him lie to that woman on air. I'm talking to him right now. Oh, I want to see. Well, I can't get through. I mean, that's the way he is. Well, they can decide not to go with their $325 billion budget and cut back. So what's insolvent is the state fund for insurance for fires. But the state isn't in jeopardy. Sure, look, it's long-term debts that I wrote about 5 years ago at Forbes are insane. So to say that California is solvent is to say to someone, well, I can pay my bills, but not my $100,000 credit card. So it depends on what you mean by insolvent. Chevron, which was a quintessential California company, is now a quintessential Houston, Texas company. And they've been planning this for years. They didn't just open up a P.O. box at a UPS store. They planned it out years in advance.
Wow. So the people leaving, companies leaving, the question was how close to insolvency is the state? Well, it may be close, but if it has a $100 million credit card, is that really insolvency?
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to live on borrowed money, it's just a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's his take on it. So anyway.
He had a pretty good take. I think we all got stuck on the $100 million thing, and he brought up $300 million. So
that's over the course of 3 years. It's been about $100 million, actually 4 years.
Okay.
So this year, he allocated $100 million out of the state firefighting fund to go to other things. Mm-hmm. And the question is, went to homeless and immigrants and all that stuff. But look, I think it boils down as what we have seen since these fires have broke out is zero leadership at the state level.
Yeah.
Nobody's held an official news conference. Here's what we're doing.
Right.
All their news conferences are people being caught by a camera defending themselves.
Right, right. And what
That's
a
all
time
it's
for
been.
Gavin Newsom to dig in and start allocating money to fight the incoming administration when it comes to deporting illegal aliens. It's just mind-boggling. So let's move on to something lighter. Yeah, a beautiful bride.
Oh.
You know, why is it that every bride that comes down the aisle is a beautiful bride?
You know why?
Why?
It is the depiction of the us being united with Christ.
Yes, good point. Well,
that's why it should be sacred.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have looked at some real treasures that people have found in thrift shops. But for a bride-to-be, there was none bigger than what she found for her special day.
After she couldn't find a gown that she liked at any bridal shop, a Florida woman bagged her dream wedding dress in a thrift store for just $25. Julia Weber felt disheartened after trying on dresses at a boutique shop and not finding anything that was right. So she couldn't believe it when she found the perfect dress in a local thrift store. Accompanied by her mom and sisters, the 26-year-old walked into her favorite secondhand store and immediately spotted the dress. She said, "It was the first one we went to. I zipped it up and it fit like a glove. I knew immediately it was the one." The speech pathologist from West Palm Beach said it was completely meant to be. Everyone had the same reaction. Their jaws were on the floor. Last month, she married her school sweetheart, who cried when he saw her walk down the aisle. Julia has been passionate about thrifting and grew up hunting through secondhand stores with her mother and two sisters, so looking for a wedding dress was a natural plan B. The dress was priced at $50, but that day it was half-off day, so Julia took it home for just $25. She couldn't find the Casablanca dress new online, but estimates it might have cost around $3,000. She paid $75 to have it professionally cleaned. Julia shared her thrifting discovery on social media and hopes it has inspired others to go hunting for secondhand pieces, and she plans to pass on the dress to a bride who can't afford a new one.
Right.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
How about that?
All right. Well, I told Jerry, I've done enough weddings. I've seen brides or grooms cry. I've seen grooms get stiff. I see grooms swallow their Adam's apple, and I've seen grooms pass out.
Pass out. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's an experience, but just make sure your weddings are sacred. There's a time for fun and games, but gosh, it's a sacred moment.
Absolutely.
All right, take with you Philippians chapter 4, verse 7 today. You will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. Well, there you go. There's a promise for you today. Drive carefully. We've already have reports of accidents out there involving a school bus with ice.
Yeah.
So be careful, okay? We'll be right back.
Everybody has fears. Everybody got
Sometimes I hear people say when I ask them how they're doing, I'm doing okay down under the circumstances. But we don't belong under the circumstances. We belong above the circumstances. We're not undercomers, we're overcomers. Amen? Live a life of unstoppable strength, unmovable faith, and unbelievable power. Discover how you
can be an overcomer.
Be encouraged.
Be informed.
Join us weekdays for Mornings on the Dove.
Right here on the Dove TV. A ministry moment on the Dove.
In the sense of the way in which Jesus used it by saying that wisdom is justified by her children, the meaning of the term justified there is to demonstrate or to manifest the truth of something. If I said to you that I could run a mile in less than 4 minutes, I don't expect you would believe that. You would want to see it to believe it. The only way I could prove to you my statement is to demonstrate it by running the mile under 4 minutes. So if I would say to you, I can run a mile under 4 minutes, unless I'm going to trick there, you would be wise not to believe my claim. In fact, if I said to you, I could run a mile, period, I don't think I would be able to justify that claim either. So there is a sense in which the word to justify is used to prove the truth of a claim.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Of course, the economy continues to be a big question mark these days. How bad is it? Can it improve? What are President-elect Trump's plans? I am very honored to have back with us today Thomas J. DiLorenzo. He is the president of Mises Institute, a nonprofit organization that exists to promote teaching and research in Australian School of Economy or Economics and individual freedom, honest in history, and international peace. He's also the author of a fascinating read called Hamilton's Curse, How Jefferson's Arch Enemy Betrayed the American Revolution and What It Means for Americans Today. He does have and there's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. And Mises is mises.org. And there's the picture of the landing page. Thomas, good to see you again, friend. How are you?
Good to see you again, too, Perry. Doing fine.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Okay, I think we can boil it down to one question. How bad of an economy is President Trump inheriting?
Well, as is typical of the Democrats, they're on a wild spending spree, and it's the very end now for them. And so I assume they're shoving money out the door as fast as they can, kind of like putting coal into a furnace. And so I think we have a bubble in the stock market again, a bubble in real estate in some cities, a bubble in college tuition, a bubble in the car market, and no one can forecast when the bubble might burst, or bubbles. But that's the situation we're in. One good thing, though, is there was so much tremendous uncertainty over whether we would continue on this road or President Trump would win the election. And now we know there's no longer the uncertainty. We know President Trump pretty well. He's been in office for 4 years before. We know what he believes in. And I think just that is good news, because businesses, even if the economy is not so hot, they don't like uncertainty. They need to plan, and now they can plan. They have a much better idea of what's coming, and so that's a little bit of good news.
How accurate are the inflation numbers?
I don't think they're very accurate at all. If you go on a website called shadowstats.com, they use the formula that the government used in the 1980s to calculate inflation. And they say it's more like 10 to 15% today, not the 3% that the government claims it is. And of course, that's an aggregate, the consumer price index. That means, well, depending on your lifestyle and the things that you buy, the things you spend money on, some people might have a lower inflation rate, and individually, and some much higher, depending on how you spend your money, and so I think the inflation rate is much higher than the government tells us, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
Why did the CPI not include energy and food anymore?
Yeah, because it makes the government look bad. Joe Biden and the Democrats, the first thing they did was shut down these big pipelines, oil pipelines, and they tried to wage a war on energy in the name of climate change, which is sort of a euphemism for socialism, as far as I'm concerned. And so, I can remember at the very beginning of the Biden administration, his energy secretary was on one of the big news shows, Meet the Press or one of those, and the commentator asked her, "What can you do? What can the government do to bring down energy prices?" And she laughed. She laughed. It was a big joke. And I took that as she meant, well, we don't want to bring down energy prices. We want people to drive less, use less energy, save the planet, climate change. And she just laughed at him. And so, and that's going to be a dramatic change because, as you know, President Trump, doesn't fall for that. He wants us to have a vigorous economy, and we might even incredibly move more in the direction of nuclear power, which is the cleanest type of power. France generates almost all of its electricity by nuclear, and so there would be no debate over pollution if we succeeded in doing that. And so, and food prices, of course, they've escalated food prices because the a lot of the politicians are in the pockets of the big agricultural corporations, just like they're in the pockets of the big pharmaceutical corporations and the military-industrial complex. And so that's what we get. We get more expensive food, and so the politicians want to gather all the credit and the campaign donations they can from these big industries, but they don't want to catch the heat from us consumers who are saying, "Why is food so expensive? Why is gas so expensive?" So they lie to us.
What role did the Federal Reserve play in this, and how they managed interest rates with the inflation problem?
Well, the Federal Reserve is the main cause of the higher prices. Whenever we have inflation, it's caused by the Federal Reserve. It's not caused by oil companies or farmers or anybody else who the politicians blame. It's caused by the politicians and their bank, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has a monopoly control of the money supply of the United States. And the same is true of every other government that in the world that has what's called a central bank. And so they're behind it all, and they're always looking for scapegoats. It's always easy to convince a lot of people that greedy business people are behind higher prices. But greedy business people are always greedy. And when the inflation rate is 2%, they're just as greedy as they are when it's 10%. And so they don't have the ability to make the inflation go from 2% to 10%. But the Fed does, and only the Fed does. And so that's why we need to control the Fed. And one thing the Fed does, by the way, is in the 1930s, it was given the power to basically counterfeit money and use the money to buy government bonds from banks, mostly the big banks like Goldman Sachs, big investment banks. And that puts that money, billions and billions of dollars, into circulation into the banking system. And when they start lending it out, that's what fuels demand, more demand in the economy, and that's what creates the inflation. But we should be experiencing deflation with all the tremendous technological advance with AI and everything else that's going on and has been going on for a long time. And the only reason we don't see lower energy prices and food prices is the Fed keeps pumping so much money into circulation to pay for all these government programs, the military state as well as the welfare state and everything else. The Fed is a major financier of all of it, including bailouts to banks who make foolish decisions on their investments like they did in 2008 and with the great crash of 2008.
So President Trump won't be able to change the leadership of the Fed because that is an uninterrupted term. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the Fed chairman is appointed to a certain term, and I think he has another year and a half or so in his term, and so President Trump can't fire him. Yeah, Isn't that something? He's the president, and he can't. There's one bureaucrat that he can't fire. He can appoint the new one when he's done. When Powell is finished, President Trump will appoint a replacement, and I will hope he would appoint him with someone like Steve Moore, for example, who, by the way, was a student of mine at George Mason University in the 80s. And President Trump appointed him the first time he was president, but he didn't make it to the Board of Governors of the Fed. But he should make someone like him the chairman of the Fed, and that would make a very, very good improvement.
Thomas, I have to ask the question, do we need the Feds?
No, we don't need the Fed. We went for, what was it, 174 years, I think it was, without the Fed. And we had three central banks before that. One was called the Bank of North America, and nobody trusted its money, so it went out of business in about a year and a half. This is in George Washington's day. And then they created something called the Bank of the United States. Alexander Hamilton was the creator of that. That lasted 20 years, and it created so many boom and bust cycles and inflation and unemployment that Congress did not recharter it. Then it was brought back again to help finance the War of 1812, and it did the same thing. It harmed the economy, made it unstable, corrupted politics, and so President Andrew Jackson vetoed the rechartering of the Second Bank of the United States. So we have three central banks. And we went basically from 1840 until 1913 without a Fed, without a central bank. And that includes the post-Civil War era, which is probably the most prosperous era in American history. It was the Industrial Revolution in America, that whole period. And so we did very well. And the banking industry didn't like competition. And so they wanted basically an organization that would be sort of a cartel manager for the bankers to make sure there's not too much competition.
Could it be eliminated?
Well, the first step was this law that was passed in the 1930s would be to prohibit the Fed from counterfeiting money to buy government bonds, and that's how, like I said, that's how they call it, the monetization of the debt. When the government borrows money, that's how it's monetized, so to speak. So when you read these statistics of the national debt being $32 trillion, that's how that came about, and that could be ended. The government of Argentina is proposing to do just that, and President Milei has actually been looking into a law to make it illegal to do that for any government agency to monetize the debt in that way. And he's threatening to put people in prison for doing what our Fed chairman does today. I don't know if they'll go to that extreme, but it's a good idea to get them, the central bank of Argentina, out of the business of monetizing the Fed, which is a fancy word for creating inflation. And inflation is a regressive tax. The poor people hurt the worst. The millionaires, they can handle 10% inflation, but somebody who makes $35,000 a year, that's going to hurt. And so it's a good thing to do. Just for that reason alone, it's a good thing to do. And we had competing currencies before in America. A lot of people think Bitcoin is a competing currency. I'm not personally convinced of that because it's not a very good store of value. I wouldn't put my life savings in Bitcoin. I don't know too many people who would, but we used to have competing currencies. They were driven out of the market during the Civil War, and after the Civil War with taxes, they were taxed so that the greenback dollar that we now use today could be the monopoly money that we have.
I was going to come to that, but let's stick there. So given the strength of the dollar and the rise of cryptocurrency, where do you think this ends up?
Well, the dollar is in trouble, has been in trouble for a long time. And evidence of that is like a lot of the people who are sort of part of the foreign policy establishment are very frightened about this, because when we impose sanctions on dozens of institutions and countries and individuals on our foreign policy, we use the dollar as a weapon, because they hold dollars. Countries all over the world hold many billions of dollars, and so we freeze them. We won't accept them and things like that. And so the foreign policy establishment is shaking in their boots that the decline of the dollar will take that tool away from them. And so the point I'm trying to make here is that we know it's in trouble because the foreign establishment of America is worried, very worried about this, because it takes that tool away from them. But I think it's a good thing. It'll reduce military adventurism. And maybe our foreign policy establishment will decide someday that their main purpose should be defending America and Americans, and not being all over the globe for doing God knows what in Africa and all over the place. And so I think that would be a good thing.
All right, let me take a quick break. This is so fascinating. By the way, Mises.org is the website, mises.org. We'll come back. We'll talk to him a little about that. Check out his book called The Hamilton Curse, and there's a picture of the cover of the book there. We'll check in with him on that when we come back. We'll be right back.
Get ready for fun at Rogue Ski Shop Think Snow Sale. Boulder Gear clothing now 20% off. Goggles, adults starting at $29, kids starting at $26. All Scott gloves 20% off. If you ski or ride, it's time to slide into Rogue Ski Shop Medford.
I was intrigued by the international news reporting, and then there were also so many stories of hope and encouragement.
When you meet the needs of others, he meets your needs.
One day I came across a video through YouTube of CBN. Terry said, "The Lord's healing you."
I want to see that program every day. It lifts me up. It gives me hope.
Watch the 700 Club Tuesday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
When I was a teenager, I remember I was taken to Johns Hopkins Hospital for surgery. I was frightened at the idea of being paralyzed for the rest of my life. I was only a kid. Well, they pushed my gurney into the old hospital lobby and parked me at the foot of this big statue. I looked up breathless. It was a massive marble figure of Christ with outstretched arms. At its base were the words of Jesus from Matthew 11. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That day I was placed directly at the feet of Jesus, and I will never forget the warm embrace of his outstretched arms. I would replay that moment so many times, it became part of my healing. Friend, today, picture yourself at the feet of Christ, because he can lift your burden.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Okay, welcome back, and what an honor to have back with us today Thomas J. DiLorenzo. He's the president of Mises Institute. We're going to talk to him about that. His book is a must-read called The Hamilton's Curse, and there's a picture of the cover of the book. And check that out. And then it does have a website, Mises.org, which is MISES.org. And there's the picture of the landing page. So, Thomas, before I get to the Institute and the book, just a couple more quick questions. Any idea the approach to monetary policy by Donald Trump versus the current administration?
Well, President Trump, he's a real estate developer, and all the real estate developers all want lower interest rates. But our position is interest rates should be determined by supply and demand for loanable funds, just like everything else, just like the price of eggs and the price of milk is determined by supply and demand on the marketplace. And it shouldn't be tinkered around with a sort of a central planning mindset of the Fed. And anybody who takes Econ 101 is taught in the first week or two that price controls are a bad idea. And so, but then here we have the Fed that employs about 500 economists, And what do? Price control. They're trying to constantly manipulating interest rates, and so that has to stop. That should stop. Wall Street speculators make a lot of money on that because the fluctuating interest rates creates arbitrage opportunities for them. But the Fed, the bottom line of the Fed, it creates inflation for everybody else and periodic depressions. Like every decade, we have one or two of these incidents, and it's all created by the Fed's bubbles. It's the beginning. The very first one, the Fed was created in 1913, and we had a Great Depression of 1920. It only lasted a year because the government retrenched, cut taxes, cut spending, cut borrowing, and the business community pulled us out of it in 1920. Didn't do that in 10 years later, because we had massive government intervention, and that led to a 15-year-long Great Depression back then. And so if President Trump had good, sound judgment in appointing Judy Shelton and Steve Moore to the Board of Governors of the Fed, they didn't make it. They were sabotaged by the Democrats. But I think people like that who have a much better understanding of economics, after all, Biden's chief economic advisor was a music major in college. He was a music teacher. And he puts this guy in the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. And President Trump will not do something so foolish.
Is it possible, Thomas, that if President Trump delivers the revolutionary economy that he's talking about, he gets the price of energy down, it spars this huge economic burst, does that kind of corner the feds? What do they do if things are good?
Well, that's a problem of every government agency, isn't it? If poverty disappears, what's the Health and Human Services going to do? If there's no war, what's the Pentagon going to do? And on and on. And so they're constantly trying to create the perception of some kind of crisis because that justifies their jobs. That's an eternal battle that we must have. That's why institutions like the Mises Institute do our best to educate as many people as possible about what's really going on here. And you're right, and as far as Elon Musk and Vivek hoping to deregulate large portions of the economy. Every business in America spends a big portion of every day just complying with government regulations. If that can be cut by 10% and let people have another 10% of actually working and producing things rather than dealing with paperwork and lawyers and government bureaucrats, that could be a huge productivity boom, even more important than the lower energy prices. And so that's a big possibility of the route we might take in the future if they succeed, if Musk and Vivek succeed in getting some serious deregulation done. You might remember the deregulation under President Carter. Rest in peace. Mm-hmm. That was tremendously beneficial for the airline industry being deregulated. Oil was deregulated. We had very cheap gas prices, and that helped cause the boom of the 1980s.
Yeah, that's a hot button with me. I mean, if all the people in communication and media, only broadcast is regulated, and we're almost regulated to death.
Yes. Well, when Franklin Roosevelt was president, he basically had one big monopoly of all the media because they used the regulators to threaten their licenses if they didn't support the New Deal. And so he established that kind of procedure. I'm not saying all presidents do that, but he was probably the worst in that regard.
Let me go to the Institute before we run out of time, because it's an amazing organization and what you're doing there. Tell us about it and how people can get involved.
Well, check out our website, Mises.org, MISES.org, and it's a great treasure trove of free education on economics. We have dozens and dozens of great books to be downloaded. Some of them are downloaded 40 or 50,000 times a month. Some of our books. We give away free books. We have a summer school for students. If you have a college student in the family or a friend, check out our Mises University. It's sort of a week-long boot camp in the summer of brilliant, usually 150 or so brilliant young people from all over the world come here to Auburn, Alabama, and learn free market economics. We publish books and we hold conferences, and you can check all of those out. We have literally thousands of videos of lectures and other things. And some of them have over 1 million views on YouTube or our website, and so I think it's the best economics website in the world, and it's all understandable. It's not convoluted like so many economic websites are.
That's mises.org. The website. Check it out. Go there and get involved and sign up. mises.org. Well, Thomas, what do you want people to get from your book on the Hamilton's curse?
Well, Alexander Hamilton was the real founding father of big government in America. He was Thomas Jefferson's nemesis in his day, and Jefferson was, that government is best, which governs least, was his philosophy. That's a direct quote from Jefferson. And so it was Hamilton who favored a central bank, what we today call corporate welfare. It was Hamilton who invented the idea of implied powers of the Constitution, the whole idea of a living Constitution. That came from Hamilton, and legal scholars from that day on used his arguments to basically water down and destroy constitutional limits on government. And so that's why, by the way, the left idolizes Hamilton with this stupid play on Broadway, for example, and a lot of books praising him to the treetops while criticizing Jefferson at the same time. And so that's in a nutshell is why I called it Hamilton's Curse. There's another book out there called Hamilton's Blessing. Hamilton once said a large public debt would be a blessing because the rich people of the country would own the government bonds, and they would be a lobbying force for higher taxes and bigger government to make sure there was enough money in the Treasury to pay off their bonds. And so he was very Machiavellian, very, very conniving in that regard politically.
Interesting. All right. It's called The Hamilton's Curse there by Thomas J. D. Lorenzo. You can check that out. There's a picture of the cover of the book. A couple of questions kind of off course here a little bit on the sidelines. What is your take of what's happened to our judicial system, better known as lawfare?
Well, there's been a movement. I was a university professor for 41 years before I became president of the Mises Institute, and in the university world, there's been maybe for the last 30 or 40 years, sort of a Marxist takeover of parts of law schools. They call it critical theory, and critical. And I've talked to a lot of these people over the years, and I asked them, well, criticize what? And basically everything. We want to destroy everything, burn it all down, and start from that. Socialists have always had that kind of mindset, and so they see what they're doing. Trying to put President Trump in jail and literally putting some of his appointees in jail. They did go to prison for refusing subpoenas, for example, things like that. They think the ends justify the means. The ends always justify the means with the left. And if that means destroying our legal system, then so be it. That's their mindset. If that means destroying the Constitution, then so be it. The dean of the law school at the University of California, Berkeley, a couple of months ago, said we need to just scrap the whole Constitution altogether. And so he's an honest man. He came out and said it, but they all believe that, all the Marxist left in the law schools. And I think that's where this comes from. And I'm hoping that President Trump's election will eliminate much of the wokeism and this craziness, and people are realizing, you do this, you're not only corrupting the legal system, but you're not enforcing the law against real criminals. Yeah. And so the defund the police movement apparently in California there's also a defund the fire department movement in Los Angeles, and I wonder how many other cities have done this, have defunded their fire departments. That's an interesting question, because I can't remember a bigger catastrophe in my lifetime of what has happened to these people in Los Angeles with the thousands of homes destroyed.
One last question. What's your take on the handling of COVID?
Well, the handling of COVID, at the very beginning of it, I was asking my friends, when did we become the Soviet Union? I think it was a giant fraud perpetrated on the world. And I think the main reason for it was to get rid of Donald Trump. That's, before COVID, unemployment rate was historically low, and Trump's people were going out just murdering the Democrats on saying the lowest unemployment, black unemployment in history, the lowest female unemployment, the lowest Hispanic unemployment in history. And they were just beating them to death with that. But then by April of 2020, the unemployment rate was 50%. And I think that was a large part of why this happened. And also a large part of why this happened was President Trump had proposed reducing the budget of the Centers for Disease Control by several $1 billion. And this was their response to create a pandemic.
Yeah.
And we now know that those paper masks were useless. We now know that all these people, like my brother-in-law who lost his job because he refused to take the shots, the Supreme Court said, no, that was wrong. They should be compensated for that. And so it was a trial run in totalitarianism is what it was. And we should never fall for it again.
Professor, you're fascinating. Thank you for your time. Hopefully we can have you back often. Let me say to our viewers and listeners a couple of things. Check out the Institute's website, mises.org. There's a picture of that landing page. Take advantage of all the resources that are there and maybe sign up. And then check out the book, Hamilton's Curse. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the page. Professor, thank you, my friend. God bless you. Stay in the fight.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
You're welcome.
Owning a small business is kind of a big deal. State Farm agent Rory Wold can help you find the right insurance coverage at the right price. Call Rory for a quote today.
Hello, my name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, seen right here on Dove TV. You say, wretched. Does this have something to do with cats and fur balls? No, it doesn't. Instead, it's understanding we are wretched sinners in need of an amazing Savior.
Well, welcome back. It's been too long. We've tried a couple of times, but he's been busy, so but we finally have connected with the only one that has the name of Todd Friel. He's the host of Wretched TV. You see him all over the Dove television network. He also is the producer of quite a few of the programs that you see here. And he has wretched.org. That's where you go to check out all of the resources there, and there is a lot. That's wretched.org. Hey, Brother Todd, good to see you.
Did I get all the skid marks from being thrown under the bus by you for not being available?
Is that? Did I get them all, Perry?
No. There's a couple
there's
down.
More coming.
There's a couple down each side of your face and down on your chin.
Sorry, I got to tell you, Perry, we're so thankful to God. Do you know, Perry, that this is our 25th anniversary? I've been doing radio and TV for 25 years. I know what you're thinking. Dude, are you even over 40? I am over 40. That isn't a lie, technically, but we've been at it for 25 years, and God has been so kind. And we just launched Fortis Institute, which it includes more guys than me. So we're doing podcasts on marriage and parenting, on biblical counseling. We're aiming at Gen Zs. The podcasts are awesome. And check this out, Perry. After 3 months, the new podcasts that we launched are in the top 10% of all podcasts worldwide. You ask, how many podcasts are there worldwide? I'm glad you asked, Perry. 4 million. Wow. So we've just been rejoicing. The launch of Fortis Institute, so much content. It's at fortisplus.org. It is an app, but it's free. It's not a subscription model. It's all free. So we hope that everybody will avail themselves. If they're looking for podcasts and videos and content that are current, dealing with the subjects du jour, which are also the subjects of the day, then visit fortisplus.org.
Is that the plus sign or the word plus?
Either one.
Okay. Fortisplus.org.
We thought that through, Perry. We got both of them. So just go to fortisplus.org, and you're just going to see scads of stuff. Dr. John Krotz, Dr. Jason Lyle. I was about an ethicist from Southern Seminary, Dr. Andrew Walker. So he deals in a way that you can get on issues like AI. There's not a lot of chat about AI, no pun intended, but it's going to change the dynamic of our culture. We're facing a new technological revolution with AI and quantum computing, and it could change how we interact with one another. Jobs, a lot of people's jobs are already being affected, and we Christians, we should be the ones who are talking about it, and we are at fortisplus.org.
Okay, well, there you go. Only you can take an introduction and turn it into a 5-minute promo. God bless you, Bubba.
Well, we're just excited about it. These guys are so good, Perry, and they're so helpful. So yeah. I'm just trying to be a blessing.
I know. You are. You are. Well, listen, a lot to talk to you about. You kind of mentioned a couple of things where I wanted to go. How would you rate? This is a big question, 30,000-foot view question. How would you rate Christian marriages in America?
I don't think that they're firing on all cylinders, for the most part. Marriage is in big trouble in this country. It's not just Obergefell. It is marriages under assault. Have you seen the marriage rates? Kids are waiting to get married. They're not in a rush. In fact, there's a lot of pressure on young people these days that I'm not sure old people like you are appreciating as much. Do you remember, Perry, having to crawl underneath a desk at school because we had to practice when the Soviet Union fired an atomic bomb at us? Do you remember doing that?
Yep. I really do.
And it was like, yeah, it wasn't a heavy cloud all the time, but it's like, wow, we could be disintegrated in a second here. And it just kind of was there when you were a kid growing up. All right, I think that there's a lot of atomic bomb clouds that are being told to kids these days. Marriage is terrible. Having kids, are you kidding? In this economy with global warming, we're all going to die anyway. And with that, I think we're seeing a younger generation that is fearful of good things. Ask yourself the question. We should all ask this question. And we want to be careful here. You don't want to call up your pastor or send him a nasty text. But when was the last time we heard from the pulpit a proclamation, y'all, marriage is great. It's awesome. And young people, you need to race to get married. It is such a great institution because it is God ordained. It is I don't want to say it's the norm because it makes it sound like singleness is a bad thing. And Paul makes it clear singleness is not a bad thing, but marriage is that one flesh union where we play the role of Jesus Christ and the church, where we run the race of sanctification all the way to celestial city with somebody that we don't have to feel ashamed around. Oh, we can share everything that is going on inside of here because that's a one flesh union. And you go through life together. And by the way, economically, it makes more sense. You can't buy a house. You can't enter in. Get married, double incomes. You're going to be able to get into the housing market, even though the interest rates are absolutely preposterous. The point is, we've got to start heralding that marriage is great. And I don't know that we have been. And I think that we can counter the message of the world with a more hopeful message about Christianity. Oh, you're scared to have kids. No. Let me tell you why it's great to have a quiver full of those kids. It is because they're little image bearers. Whoa, God has assigned you these little kids to grow up to love Jesus. It's so profound, and it is so, you love your pooch, you like your dog. It ain't nothing compared to how you're going to feel about those little ones that kind of look a little like you and your spouse. We need to be presenting these institutions and all of the fruits of the gospel of Jesus Christ in a positive way. All right, I was just reading, I think I've got it right here. Have you seen the suicide rate, Perry? It's unbelievable. So these are for younger folks. Younger women suffer most. 50% of high school females report feeling persistently sad or hopeless. And 24% actually made a suicide plan. 24% of our kids have. It hasn't just gone through their mind. They've thought, how could I pull this off? They're hurting, and we're serving them pizza, and we're playing gross out games in youth group. These kids are hurting. And Christianity is the message that says it's going to help you with your hurt. It's not, we don't want to replace the gospel of forgiveness of sins with all of the benefits of the gospel, but we got to let people know you're lonely. We got an institution. It's called the local church. You're going to have all kinds of friends, brothers and sisters, really. You're scared. You don't need to. God is for you. So who can be against you? We need to be letting this sad, depressed, single, childless world know Christianity, that's the ticket.
Couple things out of this. Do you think marriage has been trivialized?
Oh, of course it has. Of course, and rightly so. Marriage, it's an amazing thing. If you look sociologically at studies around the globe, societies that do not believe in God, they are not a Christian nation, if you will, or predominantly Christian. But traditionally, the cultural norm is you get married and you don't get divorced. You just don't. Those countries flourish. Why? Because that's the way God has made the place. I think that there's natural law. All right, I drop my glasses, they're going to fall. That's gravity, it's natural law. These are observable things. It takes a boy and a girl to make a baby, natural law. But I think God has also woven into the fabric of the universe metaphysical, spiritual laws, meaning he's made the place to run a certain way, and marriage is one of those ways. Even if you're not a believer, it has fruit. It is better for us. It pulls men up. It provides protection and safety for the weaker vessel. Everything about it is good, and families become stable components of society. A nation is only as strong as its families. So I think that marriage is God's institution. So it seems to me that if the fruit of marriage is stable societies, sanctification for individuals, more joy, more safety, more good, making babies, then why wouldn't the devil go after it? And he has, and he's trivialized it, broadened the definition of it to something that's unbiblical, and more than that, has made a mockery of it. You know, the old ball and chain, Perry. Yeah. Hey, who wants to be institutionalized? It's all a mockery of a thing that God has ordained that is good. So is marriage under assault? Yeah. And that is why we need to be speaking to the culture and saying, you got this one wrong too. Marriage is awesome. Making babies, woo, what a blessing.
Okay, part of that is I've done a lot of weddings. Maybe you have too in your days. And what's interesting about it is that I've stopped doing weddings that would be performed without any form of sacredness. Mm-hmm. I won't do it. I think we, in trivializing marriage, as we turn the event into, kind of a show, when really it's a sacred moment. Why do you think that's happened?
Well, I think, this is all spiritual business. Besides, If the devil can undermine the institution of marriage, he's undermined another command of Christianity, and that is to go and make disciples. You say, wait, hold on a second. What does marriage have to do with evangelism? Well, what is marriage? Marriage is a proclamation to the world. It isn't just a boy and a girl getting together for economic benefits. It is designed to be a picture. God has designed marriage for so many things: pleasure in the act of intimacy, procreation. It pulls men up. It helps because we want what our wives have to offer, and if we want that, well, we got to act in such a way. So it just pulls us up, but it's also a picture. It's a picture of Jesus Christ and his church. The man plays the role of Jesus. The woman plays the role of the church. And as you go about the business of playing your roles rightly, the world should look at it and go, aha, that's how Jesus loves the church. That's how the church loves Jesus Christ. And they see the gospel in action. So, of course, marriage is under assault.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, let me take a quick break. Todd Friel's with us, host of Wretched TV, wretched.org. His new website, fortisplus.org. You can check that out. And there's a picture of that landing page, too. No, he doesn't sleep. He does jump tall buildings, outruns locomotives, pastors a church, writes books, does TV, radio, and washes cars. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Ecclesiastes 3:11 says this: God has planted eternity in the human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. Now, I want you to notice that verse. Notice it says God has planted eternity in the human heart. What does that mean? It means that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what religion somebody has, human beings have a God-given, built-in instinct to realize there's got to be more to life than just here and now. Eternity was put in our hearts. We got to think there's got to be more to this. There's got to be more to life after death. Why does every religion believe there's life after death? Because God wired us that way. You were made for more than just the here and now.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Welcome back. Todd Friel's with us. Always a joy to have him. And he hosts the Wretched TV program, which you see here on the Dove, along with Road Trip to Truth. And he's got counseling shows. Now he's got fortisplus.org, a new organization putting out unbelievable resource and content. There's the picture of that landing page. And he's a busy guy. And no, those are not tire marks on his face. That's a beard.
Hey, Harry, if you're wondering, how good of a friend am I? I'm such a good friend. I wouldn't correct you publicly to let everybody know all of that content is free. I wouldn't do that because that would be maybe embarrass you and be self-serving for me. So I'm not going to let everybody know that all that content is free at fortisplus.org. And by the way, Transform Season 4 is coming out. I think you're going to start seeing it. Are you going to NRB, to the National Religious Broadcasters Convention?
I'm praying about it. Are you going to be there?
No.
Yeah.
We're kind of busy. That's all. I'd love to go. It's a great convention, but it's just.
I may not.
Well, if you did, you're going to see the new season of Transformed. It's season 4, and it is being counseled and led by Dr. Lou Priolo, who we lost. He died about a year ago. But we had wrapped up 13 episodes. Perry, it's so powerful. These couples come in. I want you to imagine you get to be kind of like a fly on the wall watching a biblical counselor talking to couples from church about their marriages. Now imagine a couple that you see at church. They got the kids. They're maybe off to the youth. They volunteer a little bit. They bring some banana bread on Sunday morning. Everything is fine. I'm telling you, everything is not fine. You asked about Christian marriages. Well, of course, there are some that are thriving, and we praise God for that. But there are a lot that are dying. They're struggling. I maybe told you about this. There was a couple who came in. And you'd look at them and you go, those are church folks. They had not physically touched one another in 5 years. They don't sleep in the same room. Maybe they bumped into each other by mistake in the kitchen. They don't hold hands. There's no kissing, no hugging. And you see Lou Priolo interacting with them. And this is why I don't think most marriages are as fruitful and delightful as they could be. There's all kinds of sin stains. It's just a sin here that gets unresolved. She did this, he said that, she failed to do this, he doesn't do that anymore. And there's just sin all over the place, and it just piles up, and then it erupts like Vesuvius, and you've got yourself divorced. And by the way, do you have this law commercial in your town, Perry? There's a law firm that is advertising divorce, not just saying, we do this service for those of you who need it. No, they're like selling divorce. They show a guy, he's on a raft on a lake. This is John. Look at how happy John is since his divorce. Look at Sally. She's gardening. She's walking with her friend. This is what life looks like after divorce. They're actually making divorce sound better than marriage. And it sells because I think even for Christians, they've got all these sin stains everywhere, and it needs cleansing. And the only way that those stains can be removed is through repentance and forgiveness. You're not going to get that at your secular counseling station, but you'll get it with biblical counseling. So this couple is there. They haven't talked. So Lou has them write out all the ways they've sinned against one another. And then they need to read their list and apologize for the way that they've sinned against their spouse. Perry, it's like, you're like, what? Remember, this couple, they look like church folk. The woman said, here's the way I've sinned against you. I loathe you. I do everything I can to make your life hard. Wow, the bitterness that is residing in that heart. They go through their list, they ask for forgiveness, and they grant forgiveness to one another. Wow. They stand up and they hug for the first time. Whoa. Beautiful.
Transform, you see it here on the Dove TV, Transform, so check that out. And did I say that all the material at Fortis Plus is free? I think I said that.
It is?
It is, yeah. Hey, I have a question in the middle of all this. This is a big question and a little time to answer it. The impact of all of this on children. I've actually counseled people through their divorces reluctantly, in the sense that, oh, well, the kids are resilient, they'll get over it. And I say, no, they don't. They never, ever, ever get over it. There is no such thing as getting over it. To the point where if there's polarization in the relationship, the kids end up what they call the term now, ghosting their parents. Mm-hmm. How do you put a handle on that?
There was an aged couple who went into the pastor's office. They'd been married for 65 years to let the pastor know they were getting divorced. And the pastor said, 65 years? Why now? Well, we wanted to wait till all the children were dead. So divorce can happen at any age. And a lot of times divorce actually does happen when the kids leave the nest, because the family has revolved around the kids fly the coop, and what's left? She is, he is, and they struggle and they don't know how to live together in a one flesh union, so they get divorced. And even as an adult child, when parents get divorced, it scars. Not to overuse a term that's being overused, but it traumatizes a child. This ain't right. These are the people who gave birth to me. This is wrong. It violates one of those metaphysical spiritual laws. It's just wrong, and it damages a kid Fight for your marriage. Get biblical counseling, not Christian counseling, not secular. Get biblical counseling. They will show you the path forward. And if you're thinking, my marriage is so in the tank, you have no idea, dude. This thing cannot be resurrected. Well, God specializes in resurrections. And not only can he make your marriage better, not just palatable, he can make it magnificent. Don't throw in the towel, believer.
Okay, boy, there's a lot here. Young people are waiting longer to get married. Have you been able to put a finger on why?
Well, they're scared. Then the financial situation. They don't think, the young men don't think they have enough money to support a young lady. A young lady is not finding godly individuals. I talk to a lot of Christian guys, and they'll say, hey, I can't find a godly woman. But I talk to about 10 times more women who go, I can't find a godly man. So they're looking, they want to be married. They can't find anybody. And that's why we need to be cultivating it. And I think, too, we need to be making sure that people understand what marriage is about. We live in a culture. It is saturated in self-esteem, the autonomous self, living with a modern self. Do everything for you, and everything is about you. Express yourself, me, roar. All of these messages that say everything in your life should be perfectly happy. Your insides need to be expressed on the outside, and society needs to affirm you. You don't need to conform to society. And so an individual that they're dating maybe doesn't hold their fork right or cut their food correctly. Oh, that's it. That doesn't please me. And this generation is being trained that any flaw that they see in another individual is a disqualifier because that automatically makes them toxic. Mm-hmm. You're going to get married to a sinner, but don't you worry. God has a solution. It's the gospel. You will grow together. Don't delay marriage because you're afraid of it. There's nothing to be afraid of. So I think that there's a lot of reasons that young people are waiting, and it's a shame.
All right, I got a minute and a half for a big question. A lot of Christians are cohabitating.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
What do you do with that one?
You're just setting that up there. If I were talking to you, I would tell you two things. Number one, you're sinning. It's not the way God designed it. He does not endorse shacking up. He wants you to get married because it is a profession of the gospel. There's theology involved in marriage. But number two, and guess what? Statistics bear this out. You're probably not going to succeed. The couples that shacks up before they get married are more likely to get divorced. Isn't that interesting? So it's not what's best for you. And if you bring children into what is a less stable relationship, you're risking their futures. So do yourself a favor, stop sinning, find yourself a preacher, and get married. Otherwise, you're living in perpetual sin. And in good churches, you'd even be discipled for that. That's message one. Message two, marriage is awesome. Dude, get married.
Good stuff. Have you seen an amazing rise in the need of biblical counseling?
We're starting up a biblical counseling center in our church. I've been speaking to different biblical counselors around the country. They all say the same thing. You open up a biblical counseling center. We're going to have about 5-6 people, scheduled times, hour, all of that stuff. They said, get ready. You will have a waiting list immediately over a year. The need is massive because biblical counseling is theology. It takes the sermon and it gets it right into your life and into your heart and into your actions and your mind and your will and your emotions. The need is massive, Perry. That's why we do Transform, to show people how powerful biblical counseling is so that they can hopefully become certified as biblical counselors at biblicalcounseling.com so that they can help people in their church and their community because it can be used evangelistically. The need. All right, look at the suicide rates. Look at the depression, the loneliness, the anxiety, the psychotropic prescriptions. The need is huge. And the church, they're going to do better than that commercial. That's 1-800-FEELING-BLUE, and then you get some stranger talking to you about Freudian psychology. Biblical counseling. Church, check it out.
No, I look, the calls we get here are amazing. And what's also amazing is, and I want to say this respectfully, but a lot of pastors don't want to do this. They don't feel qualified to do this.
That's the good news. They don't have to do this all.
Yeah.
Let godly people become certified in biblical counseling. It takes the caseload of the pastor. It spreads it out. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's my point, because I think there is help out there. Moreover, this is being a true shepherd.
It takes about 2 years to get certified. So this ain't like, okay, I send in 1999 and I get a certificate and hang it up that says I'm a biblical counselor. No, you're going to get trained. Pastor, get your folks trained.
Hey, did I tell you that FortisPlus.org, all the material there is free?
This can't be right.
Yeah, or wretched.org.
This is insane.
Or you can go to wretched.org where they just charge you an arm and a leg. But you can go over to... Hey, good to see you. God bless you, buddy.
Love you guys at the Dove.
I'll see you.
Bulls, bears, and other market beasts. How can you be sure they won't eat your investments alive? I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. As you navigate the stormy seas of investing, Lighthouse stands out as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblical